Sadistic Penguin Studios presents the At the Show podcast with Tom Yumper Garcia.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
And Tony Tulsa Burt.
I don't know this industry jargon, YP, MP, whatever, okay? All I know is that I cannot get a record contract. We cannot get a record contract unless I take these tapes.
It's almost time, so grab a drink, get your popcorn ready, and join the film discussion with two guys from Chicago talking movies.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the At the Show podcast. My name is Tom Yumper Garcia and I'm with my co-host Tony the Sugar Baggy Burt. How you doing, my man?
Doing really good. But if you can, instead of calling me Sugar Baggy from now on, can you please call me this? I think you'll appreciate it.
Mr. California, Mr. Silk Underwear, Mr. Perfection.
No, you'd like that. I got that especially just for you.
That movie's great.
It is amazing.
Plays two roles. Should have been nominated for Oscar in that movie.
It was. Can you imagine if he was on Oscar night? He was up for both of the roles for Best Actor.
I wonder if he was nominated for a Razzie for that movie.
Oh, he's good though. He's good. Blowing snot rockets, amazing.
Yes, sir. We have a pretty packed show for you guys today. I had some ideas going forward for this week, but hearing the news of the passing of Val Kilmer, we decided to pull a audible and actually celebrate the life of probably one of the best actors that didn't get enough praise from a lot of people, even the Academy included, and award ceremonies. But he's in memorable roles, and he deserves his due. Would you say, Tom?
I would say definitely. He is definitely probably one of the first actors that I thought was cool. He just an overall, just like it seemed like a cool vibe that was going on. And honestly, yeah, definitely a good little actor right there.
Yes, sir. Before we go into Val, let's go into what we have been watching this week, my friend.
All right.
That's a me. And also, what were you just watching?
So what were you watching this week, Mr. Perfection?
I have watched two brand new movies that just dropped, one on Hulu and one on Shudder. First, we will go with The Line, which is a 2023 it came out, but it just is getting released on Hulu now. It was in some festivals, but it has an impressive lineup of some actors in it, including John Malkovich, Scoot McNairy, and if you're familiar with Sherry O'Terry from Saturday Night Live, she plays a serious role as a mother. Alex Wolff, Lewis Pullman, Bill Pullman's son. But it's pretty much a little bit of a background and a pretty real account of like a fraternity. And pretty much some shady things that go on and pretty much trying to hide it. It's a very interesting story. I found it to be very interesting, especially when it comes to fraternity movies. There's been so many. So you're saying to yourself, is this going to be a retread of some of the old stereotypes, the tropes? But after doing some research before starting to watch it, it had a positive Rotten Tomatoes and a positive overall score. So that's why I knew dedicating my time to it would have been okay. And I actually drew me in to watching it. It was really, really good. IndieWire gave it an A- and said it's absolutely one of the most accurate films about fraternity life ever made. I could believe that to be true after watching it. So if you're interested in something, and it's more of a high pace movie. It isn't something where it's like a slow drama. So if you're interested in checking something like that out, I would definitely suggest it. Have you ever heard of that one yet?
No, I have not.
Very interesting little movie. The second movie I watched, and This one, if you have not yet watched this one, Yump, I definitely suggest this weekend. I've never told you to do this. You better watch this one. The Rule of Jenny Penn is a movie that actually came out last year, and it was at the movie theater. It was a couple weekends, of course. This isn't the movie that's going to the box office. It seems was under 500,000. But the movie itself remind me of a super, super creepy, even a way creepier, scary, like a Bubba Hotep. It takes place like in an elderly home. And what it ended up happening is that Jeffrey Rush, who's won an Academy Award before, he comes to the establishment because he's a judge. And while he is doing a case, he has a stroke on the bench. So he has to go to a assisted living place. And what ends up happening is John Lithgow is there with this doll on his hand, and he is just scaring everybody in the whole entire place. And it becomes really creepy head and mind games between these two, along with others. Very, very interesting movie that I would say, if you are into something that, what's the word I'm looking for, is creepy and scary, this one definitely is one I think you should watch.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Big fan of horror movies, like as you know. Very interesting plot, which you're describing. Actually, both movies sound very, very interesting to me, so I'll definitely check them out.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone out there too, for even just giving either one of these movies a chance, because to be fair, that's what you got to do on these movies. And that's what I did. Jenny Penn, I wanted to see since I seen the trailer, but The Line, that was one I was just like, I'll give this movie a chance based upon the actors that I saw in the list on the poster. But it's like the movies here that we're going to share here, you're going to share in a second. You know what I mean? Like any movie that they're in, just because their name is in the title, you're like, I'll check these movies out.
Yeah, and I'm like that way with Donnie Yen. Fell in love with the film Flashpoint, which I talked to you about. I actually did a martial arts gems about it. Not a lot of people know about it. Awesome action scene with Colin Chow from The Matrix. People might know him from. He actually stars in this film as well, where Donnie Yen actually plays an undercover cop who plays basically a guy that's infiltrating the triad, and he's not a very good cop. That's why he's better at being a criminal. That's why he takes over the role and tries to basically infiltrate and find out where they're running their drugs to. And one of the people that he actually infiltrates with is one of his good friends. His name is, they call him Blade, but he's played by Zhang Hanyu. Great action, not a great story, but if you're into just action films, this is like top of the line. Plus, Donnie Yen does a lot of crazy stunts. There's some mix of English and foreign language Cantonese in it, so you can watch either or. I usually watch with the subtitles because I like to experience it from like the natural way. Also, like I said, they throw a bunch of English in it. It's always got some like hilarious stuff in there too, in terms of like little like scenes and characters. Like one guy, they call him Fat Nose. His whole thing is just screaming, and Donnie Yen's character is like, "What the hell's wrong with this guy?" Like when he interrogates him, he just screams at him. He's like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" But just like little stuff like that cracks me up. But great action. Like I said, wacky storyline, but really, really cool. Have you seen this one, Tom?
No, I have not. But again, I know your love of these pictures radiates onto me to want to check them out as soon as you talk about them. So all the other ones you've told me about, I have checked out and I have enjoyed a lot. So I'm definitely going to check out Donnie Yen. Special ID. I like the name too, and the cover was definitely Donnie Yen is somebody who definitely, I mean, sadly, I'm sometimes you're embarrassed to admit this, but seeing John Wick is like my first introduction to his work, and that's like saying, oh, Metallica's newest album is my introduction to Metallica, where you're like, oh, you didn't hear all these other stuff before. Where I like also, though, being able to share and go back to some great classics. Like you mentioned Flashpoint earlier. I mean, I knew there's a movie actually in the 80s called Flashpoint with like a Chris Christopherson, but that's not the Donnie Yen Flashpoint. So it was cool to check out a better Flashpoint.
Yeah, there's actually a cop series too, I think, called Flashpoint. That's more recent. I always get that when I look for it. But yeah, this one's pretty decent. Check out Donnie just got the treatment that Jet Li got. Like he wasn't discovered to American audiences until you know, Lethal Weapon 4. I mean, Jackie Chan got the same thing with Rumble in the Bronx. That was like his first big US film, but yeah, I mean, he's been around since the 70s. So it's good to like check out these people and like Michelle Yeoh. I've been watching her stuff since I was a kid. She kind of got like really big after Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and then eventually winning the Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once. So it's good to kind of check out these stars. And the next one I'm going to talk about is probably one of the biggest megastars to come over from Asia, and that's Chow Yun-fat. And this film was directed by John Woo, and it's called The Killer. Basically about a hitman who blinds a woman during a hit, and he tries to make amends the whole time by protecting her. It has that, John Woo style. And if you guys know what John Woo style is, if you ever played the game Max Payne and the bullet time, that's all John Woo. John Woo created all that. That's his style of action. Chow Yun-fat is awesome in the film. It's kind of pulls at your heartstrings a little bit, but it's very, very bloody and very, very like it keeps you on the edge of your seat to know what's going to happen. Like, is he going to die? Is he going to live? You have him and a cop basically trying to go after the same people who are trying to kill the woman. Stuff like that. I know they made a remake in 2024, and it was something Walter Hill had worked on. And it's, from what I've read, it's kind of okay. I haven't had a chance to watch it, but I was going through my old martial arts gems, and I did do one on The Killer as well. And I'm like, let me pop this in, and I was hooked just from the beginning to the end. It's one of those films that when you hear Chow Yun-fat, you always hear Hard Boiled is a movie to watch. But this one definitely comes in. I think I actually like this one better than Hard Boiled, to be honest. I'm a big fan of John Woo. If you haven't seen any of his films, his Asian films, please check them out. Also, he was brought to America by our boy Jean-Claude Van Damme in the movie Hard Target. Have you seen this movie?
Yeah, it's a good movie. I was going to state that Chow Yun-fat's probably, one of my favorite Japanese actors. I guess I could say I'm very lucky that I was able to be taken to the movie theater to see, the Replacement Killers, his first American movie. And then my dad loved that so much. He's like, we'll go see The Corruptor. And that was actually pretty awesome too. But going back to the movies you're talking about, I mean, John Woo, I mean, he's one of the best at what he does. And he does it really well in The Killer.
Yeah, it's shot like, the angles are shot awesome, especially revolutionary for a time if you haven't seen it. And you could see like where a lot of influences come in to modern action films. A lot of it came from John Woo. He just shot, films a different way. He was supposedly supposed to be in the new The Killer film, which he directed. So I'm guessing that it's gonna have at least that style. I haven't seen it yet, but it's with a female this time. But I really like it. Like I like all his films. Like he did Mission Impossible 2. I really like Wind Talkers was another film he did. We should do a deep dive on him one of these days. He has a lot of like American films that are really good.
Broken Arrow,
Face Off,
great.
Yeah,
Face Off, great one.
Yeah,
great line in that. There's a great line in that movie. I can eat a peach for hours. It's just such a wholesome line. Just a great line.
You know what I always appreciated about that film, even though the premise is ridiculous that you're basically switching faces. They tell John Travolta's character that when he's going to switch faces with Castor Troy, Nicolas Cage's character, they tell him, "We'll trim off your love handles so you can be skinny like him." And that made sense because you're like, how's he gonna be like with the different bodies? But I mean, at least they tried to kind of like make it seem like they're looking into this script and trying to make it more believable, which I appreciated.
Well, movies like this and John Woo, are you familiar with Takashi Kitano at all? Any of his pictures? He's got this movie called Fireworks. It came out in 1997. It's a Japanese crime drama. And me and my buddy, we were like in sophomores, and there was this kid in just my class, and he was like, he's like, you want to go downtown and see this movie? And I was like, sure. And I had to convince another buddy just to make sure we came back. And we went to, I believe, what's the big one down? Music Box? Something. What's the one? I don't remember.
Piper's Alley?
I think that something like that. I actually don't remember the theater, which is stupid, but he took us to see this movie, and honestly, it was in subtitles, and it was one of the first movies I actually was in the movie theater and watched in subtitles. It was a great experience. And honestly, predating this, I met a gentleman in 7th grade, and he was all into Tarantino. But then he started saying that, John Woo's the one who inspired Tarantino. These movies like The Killer, Hard. So these movies go back for me all the way to like 7th grade. So it's cool that you share them here tonight. You know, even bring them up because it's cool to rethink about that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, he did this film called Boiling Point. That's where I remember him from. It's a baseball movie. It's in like 1990, I think it was. The reason I was like, did he do the other Boiling Point? Because I know there's another Boiling Point called with a baseball movie. He did that one. He also did a film called I'm looking at his filmography. Yeah, it was 1990. Outrage, which is a good film about Yakuza, and he did a sequel Beyond Outrage. Pretty good films. If you haven't seen them. Yeah, I'm a big fan of foreign films. So, I mean, if you guys have been listening to this show, we're almost at 100 episodes. You know that I'm a sucker for the foreign films, especially the action foreign films. So that's why I try to bring new stuff to what we've watched. I did also watch this film, Tona. I know I didn't tell you about it, but I watched RoboCop 3.
Wow.
And
blast from the past.
You know, the first time I watched, I love RoboCop 1. I even like RoboCop 2. And like when I saw RoboCop 3, I was kind of like, kind of taken aback from it because one, it was PG-13. It's kind of like, it has like a kid in it. And I'm like, man, it's not that good. Then, find out it's like low budget because the company was going out of business and and all this other stuff had happened. Peter Weller wasn't in it. But after watching the documentary of the first RoboCop I told you about, they mentioned it in there and they talked about it a little bit. I wanted to pop it on and watch it. Now, I watched it and actually not that bad of a film. Not great, but not that horrible. It was actually enjoyable to an extent.
Dad, is that you? Again, I mean, in my household, this movie came out, and for some reason, again, 93, I'm 11 years old. I remember him stomping around and saying, Peter Weller isn't in it, but man, it's still a pretty good movie. So like, again, and I honestly, I couldn't tell you. All I remember is I don't remember anything about it, besides Peter Weller not being in it. So honestly, I'll give it a second view too, and because even the second one, I only can really tell you about the first one. It's been a long time since I watched 2 or 3. I could even probably tell you more about that remake that they did, which wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst. Now the Prime Directives films that were like after this, they're kind of like a TV show that were hour long, like an hour and 15 minutes. They're very bad. Like he fights a guy that like looks like he has plastic on his body, basically. But yeah, so these are what we watched this week. Let us know what you watched this week over at X or Twitters or whatever it's called. Let us know on Facebook at Sticks Penguin Studios or in the YouTube comments. So my man, before we get to our main event, let's go into a little new movie and music news and video game news here. The first thing I want to talk to you about is it was announced that your boy Bruce Springsteen is going to release 7 lost albums containing over 80 never before heard songs. He announced this a couple days ago, and it was updated today on CNN that the songs contain about 80, the albums contain about 80 songs. The first one will be, the full release will be on June 27th, and they span decades long of his career, which were from 1983 and 2018. So between all those years, the album titles, according to the news release, are LA Garage Sessions 83, Streets of Philadelphia Sessions, Faithless, Somewhere North of Nashville, Inyo, and Twilight Hours. What do you think about this, man?
sounds cool. You know, I mean, I'm very much like because like even like say Prince right now, he's passed away. He's got a vault of like thousands and thousands and thousands of unheard songs. Like, don't you think like when the artist like and Bruce is alive, it's different in this situation, but don't you think like if these songs were really good, we would have heard them already? Not to say that they're going to be bad songs by any stretch or any means, but like this is also coinciding at the same time, which I'm excited for, is Jeremy Allen White is playing Bruce Springsteen in an upcoming film that will be released very soon. So, I mean, we're going to be having a Bruce renaissance coming up here. Not that we didn't already just living in one because he's amazing and great. But honestly, though, I'd like to hear it. You know, let me say that. Let me hear it first because just recently – I was telling you and Mailman Jack, I think in one of our text threads, that about the Tom Petty had a documentary on Paramount Plus. It was like he re-released an '83 album, and there was like a whole album's worth of songs he didn't release, and there was some good stuff on there. So I'll hold my breath, and actually I'll listen to it first, because that's generally what I like to do. It's just for me, it would be like if they said today, here is 100 Lost Sopranos episodes. You love the Sopranos, but you're also like, do I have time to watch the 100? And can I take them all in? And when will I? There's something anxiety about 6 things being released at the same time to take it all in. But it's cool for a die hard Bruce fan. I mean, I'm a fan, but I wouldn't say I'm the diest hard fan.
Pretty sure Aloha Mr. Hand's very excited about this.
That's cool. Well, it's always good to get extra music from any artist. I mean, that's good too.
Oh yeah, I like in terms of I understand what you're saying. Like if they were good, they released them earlier, and then I also think about like when the Chili Peppers went back to John Frusciante from Josh Clawfinger. They actually had a full album written with him and Rick Rubin. That was the last album. They had a two album release, but it was a full 18-track album that they recorded and everything, and they scrapped it because it had John coming back. I would like to listen to that.
Now see that right there, that interests me because one day we're going to get into a musical discussion. It's going to be a good one because it's going to be about your favorite band. Because I actually, like this morning, I'm getting in the shower and I got my mix going and Coyotes comes on, True Men Don't Kill Coyotes. And the bass in that song is amazingly awesome. And that's not a Frusciante song. So like Hillel Slovak was also a great guitar player, but now we move on to the Getaway, the last album before Frusciante comes back. And I really thought the band took a good direction in a good way, positively. No dig to Frusciante coming back because since he's come back, great music too. So I'm with you to hear what that album would sound like and see if it was a progression from the Getaway. Yeah.
So to be honest with you, I like the Getaway more than I like these last 2 albums. I thought they were good.
Thank you. I didn't want to, tonight there's not going to be even there's a movie maybe on the list that we may disagree on. There's going to be no debating. So thank you, Yum, because that was the only thing I was going to say. And I didn't want to say it was that I believe that the Getaway was a better album than the last 2. And the last 2 were 2 double albums. The good stuff on there. But the Getaway was a really good focused album. And honestly, I was just listening to some of those songs the other day. For a band in their age, they really made some good music on that album, like really, really good music.
Yeah, I do like he did a lot more with Flea for those albums. Also, I believe the Getaway was produced by Danger Mouse?
It sure was, yes.
Yeah, that's another thing too. And Danger Mouse, I remember when I was reading about them developing it, he came in and he basically told them, we're not doing this, we're not doing that, you're not and he had heard a lot of feelings, like Anthony and him got into it a little bit.
Yeah.
But Anthony said that he really appreciated him being honest with them to make their music sound better. And I love that album, The Getaway. I can listen to that track, like the record, like from beginning to end. Like I love every song on there.
Now, as lyrics go, I mean, Dark Necessities is a great track. I mean, especially for, again, the band where they are. Because I'm like, the album before that, it wasn't the best. It was okay, it's good. There's good stuff on it, but the Getaway is really good.
Yeah, the last one, I'm with you. We had some decent tracks on it, but Like I think the Getaway was kind of like they're in their comfortable groove with their
Yep.
new guitarist.
Yep.
Like my favorite song is like a song that doesn't even get played a lot by people, and it's The Longest Wave. I really like that
Yeah.
song. It's number 5 on the track.
Really, really good song.
Yeah. So Bruce is releasing new albums. I know I want to talk some music with you. I knew you'd be excited to talk that.
Yeah.
Now on to some video game news, man. People are going crazy about this, but the Nintendo Switch has announced that they're going to release their second. Well, Nintendo has announced they're going to release the Nintendo Switch 2 gaming console, which will be the company's first new console since the Switch in 2017. And it's going to be released June 5th and cost $450. Now, the Switch is going to have 256 gigabytes of storage, which is 8 times more than the previous model. The bad thing is that it's going to be at 1080, so it's not going to be at 4K like the OLEDs, although the dock will support 4K. Also, people are complaining that it's $80 games. And I'm like, dude, like video games have always gone up. Like, why are you complaining? If it's better graphics to me, and like, don't get me wrong, my kid loves his Switch, but he plays games like Minecraft and like Mario, which are awesome. But like when it came to more complex games like Mortal Kombat, I seen the graphics comparison and it was bad. I'm hoping this, version of it is a little bit more in depth and has like the better graphics for the buyers of the Switch, Switch games. But I mean, I can't go wrong with anything Nintendo creates. I've always said Nintendo, except maybe the Wii U. They've hit home runs every time they release something. And this game is actually going to give you a chance to actually go back and explore GameCube games, which people love. Gives them a chance to do that. And you can use the Joy-Cons as a mouse and keyboard. So that's kind of cool. Will I be buying it? I don't know yet for my 9-year-old, but it's definitely something I'll look into. What about you?
One thing about it is that the other day I saw that they had it was like an hour rollout. So immediately I went to school and I played it for the kids, and some of them were going insane, and then some of the other ones were like, why are you going so insane over this? It's just a game. But then really I saw features that hadn't been on other stuff before. I think I saw that they're going to have like the chat where you can talk that hasn't been in other ones. Like I watched the rollout for the new Mario, the track. It looked amazing. It looked really cool. I won't personally be buying it, but I'd play it. But again, I was hearing somebody, then the student who was real excited came back today and he sounded not as excited, which I guess he probably went home and watched more of it and studied it more, because I forgot what his complaints were when he came back today. But it sounded like something more of like, why can't, it was more of something along the lines of, why can't Nintendo come out with a system more like a PS5 or a Xbox One, as opposed to here's Switch 2, we've switched some stuff up on it, here it is for $450. You know what I mean? And which, I don't know anything. Honestly, this is something where I don't have a horse in the race. Well, so I look and I just nod.
Well, long ago, when we were youngins, Nintendo actually had an agreement to release a CD system with Sony. They basically came to there was some disagreement between the two and it never got released. Well, Sony went on to, of course, release the PlayStation, which now is its own brand and has built up. I think Nintendo went on to do, I think it was a 3D. No, it was a 3DO. It was like a horrible, horrible system. That had like point and click games and horrible Zelda games that were just really, really bad. I remember, like, if you watch the Angry Video Game Nerd, he talks about it. It was just brutal. But it was supposed to be the first like Nintendo. It was Panasonic. It was like Panasonic did it, and Nintendo stamped their name on it. It had like a Mario game where he's in a hotel and all you do is close doors and go up elevators. It was really bad. But they learned their lesson. I mean, they went back like the Nintendo. They went back to 64-bit cartridges, and then they went to CDs with the GameCube, and then stuck up with the Wii. I do like that the new Nintendo, actually, the games are like really tiny, which could be a blessing and a curse, meaning you can store them better, and it's really easy to pop them in. But also how much, like I said, bandwidth for graphics is on there. But yeah, I don't really mind Nintendo just sticking to the formula. I mean, it makes them money.
Yeah.
They're kind of it's to me, it's like everybody buys an iPhone. It's basically the same shit next year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's it too.
Yeah, but at least they waited 8 years. So
That's cool. I mean, the thing about it is that the so we watched the rollout or whatever, and then today, because of these new impending tariffs, Nintendo puts a hold on you being able to pre-order it on the first pre-order day. They said today. So they're hoping it still comes out June 4th, but the pre-order date has been held off for a little while. Which
thanks, Obama. No,
yeah, good job, thanks.
No, yeah, Jesus Christ, don't even get me to the tariffs. But this is a positive show, Tony. Till later.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, let us know if you're gonna buy the Nintendo Switch or if you're excited. Like I said, when the entertainment news comes out, we try to kind of do a potpourri of it. Again, this is not enough for a full at the mini show, but we are gonna end this little segment of news with some movie news. And if you've been watching YouTube or Twitters, I believe, they had the release of the new Naked Gun trailer starring Leslie Nielsen. What'd you think about it, Tone?
Well, first of all, actually, I'm gonna. This is the first time I'm gonna pass it to you first, because if you watch, I'm curious to somebody. First of all, are you a fan of the movies? Do you like the movies prior? Have you seen the 3 prior movies?
Yes, I have. I've seen all 3, and it's actually not Leslie Nielsen. He's the old actor. I said Leslie Nielsen.
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson. Dan, that's really funny that they have this close to same name.
You know what? I didn't know that either until we're saying it right now. But
yeah. I loved all. Actually, I liked all 3. I liked part 3 with Fred Ward and the Oscars and the bomb, which was ridiculous. They all had gags. Something new. I mean, everybody, of course, remembers Reggie Jackson as the hitman to kill the queen.
Oh yeah.
I liked all of them. I liked Leslie Nielsen. I liked him when he was in Police Squad, and finding out the people who did Police Squad did basically Naked Gun films.
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
So in terms of my thoughts of it, I am not a big fan of remakes. You know this, but watching the trailer, it actually made me really interested due to the fact that Liam Neeson is not playing another character Vision. He's actually version of Frank. He's actually Frank's kid, which I thought was kind of hilarious. It's just ridiculous the fact that the trailer shows him coming in as like a Girl Scout and he just stands up. Of course, they have other people that are basically yes, the true shoeshine sees Johnny the shoeshine boy. I need some information. But the joke that got me at the end was the OJ joke when they're talking about their dads, and then they go to the guy who's supposed to be OJ's kid, and he just goes, no. But yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this, man. I think it could actually be good. And I know Liam Neeson, when he was first chosen for the role, he's a person that's going to treat. He said he's going to treat it with as much respect as he could, and I think he has that dry sense of humor to work out. I mean, look at how he did in Ted 2 when he was just buying damn cereal. I thought that was hilarious. What about you?
I could say how you are for the martial arts films is how I am for these spoof movies. I've been waiting for just a good spoof movie for a long time, and the trailer gave some promise. I was, it's really seems to be hopefully a successful thing. I really like the idea that he's his son. I don't know why, because it just being just another Frank Drebin, but not Leslie Nielsen, would have been but there's a joke inside the movie about the old movie, so I like that. So definitely when it is being released, we're gonna have to do maybe a breakdown of the other movies, possibly.
Yeah, that'll be a fun episode to go through. I also like the back to Leslie Nielsen. One of my favorite films growing up. He did a film with Linda Blair, and it was basically a Exorcist movie called Repossessed. Yeah, Repossessed.
Yeah, Repossessed.
And that movie always made me laugh because he starts beating the shit out of Linda Blair. And it's what Ned Betty's in it. And Father Starkey, I think his name is. Anthony Starkey is the other priest. But Jesse Ventura's in there. There's just a whole bunch of wackiness that happens.
Long time since I've seen that one.
Yeah, I remember that because I used to come on the movie channel when it used to be like premium channels, to be like the movie channel, HBO, and Showtime used to be like the big three channels on the
Yeah,
old hot box. That movie used to come on like all the time, so I always watched it. I don't know why, but
it's true.
Repossessed.
It's true.
But yeah, so I am excited about. Well, it sounds like we're both excited about the new Naked Gun trailer. Hopefully, it does well, and they make a few more to honor Leslie Nielsen. There's another person too that doesn't get talked about a lot, which is kind of crazy.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, I'm sorry, Skinamax. Yeah, I'm sorry, Cinemax. I forgot about Cinemax. I'm sorry. But yeah, so that's our news for the entertainment section of the show. Again, when we get lots of news in a week, we'll probably drop a mini show. But until then, we'll just keep incorporating it into our regular show, so you guys get your fill of that way, and to kind of mix it up a little bit. But unfortunately, we're gonna have to go back to some bad news, and that's what our main show is about, and that's the passing of Val Kilmer at the age of 65, which is a very young age. And we know that he's had some medical issues that he dealt with, which eventually he ended up having a hole, basically like a place in his throat. But he still found humor in it. There's videos of him playing the role of Batman, and like putting a mask on as Batman. He had a whole documentary done. Of course, he was in Top Gun Maverick. What was your favorite? Well, not your favorite. What was your first film that you remember seeing Val Kilmer in?
Real Genius.
Oh,
Real Genius was probably the first movie that I seen him in. It was very memorable because these 80 teen movies, and being a kid and watching them, all you wanted to do was be in the movie, and him being like the main focus and all the girls wanting him. You're like, man, I want to be Val Kilmer. Like, that's what I remember watching the movie. Spoof movie draft. Yes.
for me, it was Willow.
That's was up there too. Yeah. Good one.
Yeah, Willow with that was on the. I was really into those films as a kid, like that, Liberating Story, the spinoff of the Return of the Jedi, the Ewoks. I watched them a lot. So Willow was right up my alley. I watched even the bad, like Red Sonja's, Kroll. Oh my god, Kroll is so bad, but it's so good. It's so cheesy, but it's so good. I was really into those films. But yeah, Willow was one of the films I saw him, and I really liked him in there. And then eventually I saw him play Batman in theater. I remember when it got released, and everybody was hyping up Jim Carrey playing in that role. And when I saw him as Batman, I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And his suit looked weird, but I enjoyed that. Those films, and it's really sad that he passed. And we're gonna go honor him tonight by going through some films that are our favorites of his. Now, they might not be the ones that you guys know of, that everybody thinks of, but these are our choice of films. So everybody can agree to disagree, which I'm pretty sure
real
we
quick
agree.
before you get started here is that Rolling Stone did their 10 Val Kilmer, what they thought were his best, and we matched them at 80%. So
Nice.
they put Maverick on there, which I would not say is one of Val Kilmer's best movies. So I think that was just a cheap shot by them. So I think our list is better than Rolling Stone. So I'll just say that tonight.
They probably did it for the sentimental part of it.
That's why, but like, I think Thunderheart sentimentally is better than that, and that wasn't on the list. So
yeah, but let's go into it, man. Let's go into our first film.
There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Human beings are perhaps never more dangerous than when they are convinced beyond a doubt that they are right. Patience, penance. What do these ones represent? Well, it's my calendar. Anne's birthday. It was her first date. It's an anniversary. My Maria's birthday. First day she walked. And the day they were taken from you. And that empty box, what's that? This is the day we're reunited.
2008's Felon. He plays the role of John Smith. It was directed by Rick Roman Way, who did a film I love called Shot Caller, Kandahar, Angel Has Fallen in Greenland. The film stars Stephen Dorff, Marisol Nichols, Ann Archer, Sam Shepard, and Harold Perrineau. The movie had a budget of $2.9 million. I couldn't find a box office on the numbers or IMDb, but I'm pretty sure there's one out there. I actually saw this film as a burned copy of a screener. My buddy gave it to me, and he told me, "Hey, you guys see this new film with Val Kilmer?" And I'm like, "What? Val Kilmer?" He's like, "Yeah," because I mean, this is 2008. Like Val Kilmer kind of had his run, and then kind of like fell off a little bit. He was in MacGruber, and like then it was like, "Oh, he got fat." And I'm like, "What?" But we did not know he was going through medical issues and having medicine. But in this film, he plays like a prisoner that basically his family was killed, and he's kind of like a shot caller, and he gets a new cellie who is only in jail because he killed a man away from his property that tried to rob him, and he killed him out. We're chasing after him. He hit him with a baseball bat, and he died. And they just showed the atrocities and like the corruptness of the prison system. Like Harold Perrineau does a great job of being a piece of shit, sergeant of the police guards, and like Sam Shepard does a great job as Phil. Marisol Nichols does a good job as Stephen Dorff's wife. But I really like this film for Val Kilmer because it's a role that I haven't seen him play, as he's brutal in it. And you could tell he's a person in a lot of pain, and the reason he's acting out is because of what happened to him. And his backstory as a character is just ridiculous what he's done. And they go through it, and I love how when Stephen Dorff questions him, he gets scared, and Val Kilmer tells him, "It's okay, we breathe the same air." Or even the first time they introduce, like he meets him, Val Kilmer walks in, and he's like, "Do you want to fuck or fight?" He's like, neither. It's like, okay. But just like stuff like that, like it's actually a really, really good film. And like you could see Shot Caller, which is after this, how well that film is done. That's another great film. I don't know if you've seen that one, Tone, but this, have you?
You can finish, and then I'll tell you everything I was going to say.
Yeah. But this one I really, really like, and I like how Kilmer's, like, it just shows his range as an actor. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, great movie, because I actually had not watched it. I had heard of it until actually yesterday. I watched it for the very first time. But back to Shot Caller first before we get back to this one. That's probably one of my favorite movies in the last 10 years. That movie is probably definitely top 5 of just an excellent movie. And I guess I was unaware that this is kind of like a trilogy, and the movie in the middle with The Rock, Snitch, is also part of this trilogy, which it's been a while since I've seen Snitch. I didn't realize it took place in a prison, but I guess there's some connection between the 3 films. But back to this movie. Second, before we move on, I'm really disappointed of the movies he's done after Shot Caller, but I don't know if you've ever seen Greenland or any of those movies. Good thing. So back to here, Val Kilmer does a great job. I mean, there are some, what's the thing I'm looking for? If it isn't Val Kilmer, or even Stephen Dorff does a great job in this too. If they're not in the movie, though, it might not be as good with just some other actors in it.
I think their performance actually, makes the film what it is. I don't think anybody else could have done it. Actually, I like Marisol Nichols a lot too. Like her role as the wife that doesn't know what to do for her husband. And there's like this big like subplot of them getting him out of jail and whatnot. Not Val Kilmer's character, but Stephen Dorff. But he kind of builds a friendship with a guy who was brutal in his crimes, and kind of like takes him under his wing as a fish in prison. But if you haven't seen it, check it out. Also watch Shot Caller after you watch this film, and you'll appreciate Rick Roman Way's style of directing. But that's pretty much all I can say about Fella, my man. I want to lead off with something that we haven't seen Val Kilmer do in a while, and that's play a villain. I know he played a villain in other films that we're probably going to talk about tonight, but this is one I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's cool when even any actor, I mean, I think when we go into these other movies, this one is one that you can, if you're a fan of Val Kilmer, you could suggest to somebody, and it's a good 50-50. They might not have seen this one, and they could see him do something even more better.
See you later, Brian. Thanks for checking us out, my man. So let's move on to your next film, my man.
Would you be prepared if gravity reversed itself?
The
only thing I can't figure out is how to keep the change in my pockets. I've got it. Nudity.
I was here for a second this morning.
You didn't straighten up the place, did you?
No.
Good. Because all my filth is in alphabetical order. This, for example, was under H for toy.
What is it?
This? It's a penis stretcher. You want to try it?
No.
I'm kidding. It's yet another in a long series of diversions in an attempt to avoid responsibility.
1985's Real Genius. He plays the role of Chris Knight. The film was directed by Martha Coolidge, who also did I'll Find You, Tribute, Angie, one of my favorite films, Lost in Yonkers, and Valley Girl. The film stars Stacey Peralta, Daniel Adis, Ed Lauter, Louis Giambalvo, John Grise, and William Atherton. The movie had a budget of $8 million and a box office of 12. Tell me why you picked this one, man.
A fun movie. Again, it's cool because in most of the teen comedies of the 80s, it's just like, straight humor in the high school. This movie's got a little science mixed in with it, and the title Real Genius. And when you look back and you're looking at it, it's the same time as like Weird Science. So it's like there's this time period in the 80s where they're cranking out pretty cool 80s science movies. There's another one called My Science Project that's really good. But again, Val Kilmer, I think, carries this movie pretty well as Chris Knight. Definitely somebody who, in the movie, his character is more of he's not like straight out cocky cool. He's more of like quietly cool, aloof, where he's a genius, but like there's the new kid who comes into the block and he's trying to understand him at the same time. But Val Kilmer, again, in all the roles I think we're going to talk about tonight, he's carrying the picture. There are a lot of other good performances in the movie. I mean, I think William Atherton does a great job, just as good as he does in Ghostbusters, playing a, prick of a teacher, of a, college professor. But the party scene in this movie, the musical montage in this movie is pretty great. Also is pretty great, I think, is you take like a producer who has grossed over $15 billion and work with Ron Howard, with Brian Grazer, and say he produced this movie. I always find stuff like that's cool when like someone's this big Oscar-winning producer, but like at his beginnings, he produced movies cool like Real Genius. There's a lot to this movie that just really. But you know what sticks out to me the most, the thing that sticks out to me the most of the movie is the finale, because music is everything to me. We've talked about this, and as a child, I'll never forget. It's not only the popcorn that sticks in my head that fills up that whole entire house, but I mean, come on, Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I mean, what other movie back in 1985, if you're sitting in the movie theater and the way that movie ends, you're not like, wow, that was a cool movie. You know what I mean? Like, we hate to say it, we'll never walk out of a movie theater with that feeling.
No, I don't think so. You kind of stole my thunder a little bit, because like my memory is the popcorn scene. Because I'm a lover of popcorn. I'm like, damn, like that's a shitload of popcorn. And when we did a little research for this film, the popcorn finale involved 190,000 pounds of popcorn.
Wow.
There was elaborate machinery, hydraulic lifts, conveyor belts, and additional popcorn provided by the Lipidus Popcorn Company. Our good friend, Mr. Peck, William Atherton, stated the popcorn used was treated with a flame retardant chemical. Production had to prevent birds from eating it, and it took 3 months to pop all the popcorn needed. So that popcorn was stale as hell. But that's still like that scene where they fill that hole. I think it's like a lodge, right? Like all the popcorn just explodes out. I'm like, holy smokes. But I really like this film because he's wacky in it. He's a smartass, but it's because he knows the people just want to use him for his brain. So he's kind of, it has like that. It gives me kind of like the 80s vibe of mystery and little stuff like that. Like the scene that we just played where he first meets his roommate and the guy kind of just walks into the room and goes into the closet and then disappears. And he's like, "What? What is that?" Like it's kind of like, oh, it's like a sign of mystery in it. And then now Val Kilmer comes in doing a handstand basically against the wall. Uh, I like stuff like that. It gives me that 80s, high school, college feel that movies like Back to School and even The Breakfast Club gave me. And I do think Val Kilmer just totally carries this film. It's one of his earlier films, and like he just shows like he can carry a movie at such a young age.
There's so many hilarious things, in this movie that you just mentioned the guy who goes into the closet. Currently, right now, that gentleman, John Grease, is having a resurgence. He's like the star of White Lotus on HBO. So it's funny that like
Uncle Rico.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot of good roles he's in. Monster Squad, we can go on forever. But the gentleman, if you're looking on the screen with the glasses, if you're familiar with Dean Devlin, he is the producer of every Roland Emmerich movie like Godzilla and Independence Day. So it's crazy when these actors can be worked into this. What I thought was pretty cool was to promote the film. The studio held the world's first computer press conference, answering journalists' questions via computer terminals relayed over the computer service online service. It was the first time ever for a movie. Pretty interesting.
Yeah, and now they would just say that would be lazy.
It's true.
Maybe AI can answer those questions for us. But yeah, the cool thing too is that Val Kilmer's dorm was filled with drawings that were made by his brother Wesley Kilmer.
Sad story all about. I read that this week and I was unfamiliar with it until this week. Kay like looks over at me. She's like, "What's the matter?" I go, "I just read the story. I didn't know about it." Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Oh man. But if you haven't seen this one, it's an 80s classic. We talked about this film, not me and you particularly, but it was one of the first films we talked about in our 80s. I'm an 80s teen movie in I think it was our second show. That was like a 2.5-hour show. 3-hour show, I think it was.
No, so hold on. I wanted to let you know something, which we got a little bit of an announcement to make. Our show last week was the longest show ever for At the Show history.
Oh, wow. So
only by 3 minutes by the show you're speaking of right now. It was like the other one was like 2:31 and we were like 2:34. So it's like that was the one last week.
Oh my god, this has us arguing. That's why I went so long. You wanted to have me arguing for so long. But yeah, so that last week's show, I guess, beat out that show. That show was really long, but we went through like I don't know how many movies. I can't remember, but all the 80s movies.
Good ones.
But this was one of our favorites, and like Val Kilmer, like he's coming out of his shell, like in this one, like he's in his 85. So we're gonna get to a film that he did a little earlier than that, but I really, really enjoyed this one.
Definitely.
But for our next film, instead of doing an audio clip, for those listening on the audio, I'm sorry, I'm actually going to do a video clip, and the reason I'm going to do it is going to be explained after we show it. And this movie is Heat, and he plays the role of Chris Shirleris. It was released in 1995, directed by Michael Mann, who did Ferrari, Public Enemies, Collateral, Ali, The Insiders, The Last of the Mohicans, Manhunter, and Thief. The film stars Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Jon Voight, Ashley Judd, Amy Brenneman, Wes Studi, William Fitcher, Dennis Haysbert, Tom Noonan, and Ted Levine, and a budget of $60 million and a box office of $187 million dollars. The reason I chose that clip is because that clip I showed of Val Kilmer switching his magazine after shooting off that automatic weapon is used in actual training drills with police officers and military to show how the perfect way to switch a cartridge out for that particular model of gun. Uh, it's one of the things he was most proud of, and they said it's the most authentic way of doing so that's ever presented in films, and it's pretty cool to show how he had such dedication that he perfected that, and like he was really really proud that they showed that to a bunch of people, and it's still shown today apparently by departments and military personnel to their officers to show what a perfect reload is, which I thought was pretty cool. This film, I think, again, Kilmer's character is a psychopath, but he pulls at your heartstrings with his love with his wife. I think not to get too far, I'm ahead of myself, but the ending when he sees he sees his wife up at the balcony and he knows he can't go upstairs is really, really sad. Uh, this is the beginning of the Al Pacino screaming phase, Sense of a Woman. And then, it kind of went to here where he says the line, she's because she has a great ass.
Which movie did you say first?
Sense of a Woman.
That's
If I were the man I was 5 years ago, I'd take a flamethrower to this place.
You set it up. I happen to download that clip for tonight.
It's all good. But this film is actually very, very done well. Done very, very well. Michael Mann is an artist when it comes to crime films. Manhunter, which was the first Silence of the Lambs, which basically is Silence of the Lambs. Silence of the Lambs is actually a remake of it. I actually really enjoy that film as well. With William Peterson in the role of it's actually Red Dragon, but I enjoy William Peterson in the Edward Norton role. He does a great job in this film. The action is awesome. The dialogue is great. The probably one of the biggest iconic scenes is when they're in the restaurant, Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Everybody was looking forward to that because, of course, they were in Godfather 2, but didn't have any scenes with each other. And these are two icons basically sitting down, sharing scenes. And this is the first film they ever shared scenes in. It's based off a true story about a man that has Chicago roots in it. It's also based off the character of Waingro, who's played by Ted Levine, was terrified of being typecast from Silence of the Lambs, but he was pulled in by Michael Mann's request to do this role. His character of Bosco, it's just brutal. It has everything you want in it. Great lines, great action, great story. I know I was giving Tony crap last week about it when we were saying who could play different roles, but I really, really like Heat. There was supposed to be a Heat video game that was going to release. I was definitely going to buy that. I know they released a book called Heat 2, and there's been talk about being a Heat 2 film. I don't know if you can do that with the actors being over 80, and unless they do that stupid, CGI shit where they make them look young and look brutal. But I am really, really a big fan of this film, and it's probably one of the classic heist movies, if not one of the best heist movies of all time. What do you think about it, Tom?
Back to the Heat 2 thing, I could be wrong, but I was hearing something along the lines of like it being more of like, I don't know if they're younger or like it's people like Austin Butler, like it's more of like a younger crew coming in to do it because Pacino and De Niro, no. I just couldn't see. I hope not, because this is actually Pacino's swan song. This is it. I think this is coming towards the end of. But De Niro, me and my buddy would always argue who was better in this movie, and I just think De Niro is so cool in this movie. But Val Kilmer is really cool too, and when you think about it, when Val Kilmer's got to hang in a movie with De Niro and Pacino, and pretty much a murderer's row of great actors below them, it's pretty. He did a pretty good job. He did a really, really good job.
And I left out, when I did my starring role, I left out Tom Sizemore, this is probably his best role. Another talented actor that just couldn't get off. He was his worst enemy in terms of everything. But yeah, I really like this film, man. I love everything about this film, like the style, the premise, the the acting. It's just this is when you think of put this way, you couldn't have thought of a better way to include two of the best well-known actors of our generation. Even though Pacino's been in a lot of clunkers and so has De Niro, like they're still two of the greatest actors that of my lifetime at least. And they've come from classic films to be in a film where they have first share their scenes together, and it's like it hit it out of the ballpark. And I think Michael Mann did that.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Mann, you mentioned you took some time there to really honor a good movie in Manhunter. I mean, Manhunter is a really, really good movie, and William Peterson really nails that role too. And in this movie, you say it's pretty much the same thing. He's setting it up, and the good actors are knocking it down. Let me tell you, this is the conundrum that I had, and this is a true story. I seen this in the movie theater with my buddies. Like a parent didn't take us. It was just me and a couple friends, and we went to River Oaks and we saw it. I remember it being a Friday night, but like a month and a half before this, I see a movie in the movie theaters, the same friends. It's the same three of us. And this movie, I thought, blew this movie away. Now, at the time, and I still probably do, and that's Casino. So it was tough for me to watch Casino, which was just so lively. And Heat's great, but there are slow parts to Heat. So it's like when you see a Casino in the movie theater, and 1 month later, as a 13-year-old, you see Heat. You're only 13 years old now, mind you. Your mind isn't seeing how awesome Heat really is until you get older and you really take in what the magic of Heat is, because Heat is a great, great movie. But at 13 years old, I almost think Heat was too mature for me, besides that shootout scene, because there was just a lot of like trying to get to know the characters, where Casino was a fun ride. Once it just got started, it didn't stop until it was over with for me. But I love Heat though. And
I mean, Casino is more of a fast-paced film, believe it or not.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
but
this film is a slow burn, but it's very, very.
I guess it's more of I didn't learn how to really enjoy a slow burn as much. Like now, I love a slow burn way more than I love that fast Casino pace, because you have to appreciate the slow burn. The fast pace is what's trying to get you. That's easy to get you. Where this movie, it's Val Kilmer's performance, because when now you take a step back and you look and you say, I mean, this is only, less than 10 years almost removed from Top Gun. I mean, The Doors is only, 3 years away. So like, when you think of actors in today's time, I mean, that's the distance between the last two Spider-Man movies. You know what I mean? So it's like, but in your mind back then, you're just thinking that Top Gun is so far away from Heat, when the reality is it's not.
Yeah. And like I said, this film has a lot of reality based in it. I said that they had Chicago connection. It's basically Robert De Niro's character is based off a guy named Chuck. Well, his guy named Macaulay, that was Neil Macaulay, who was in Alcatraz, and the detective Havana is based off Chuck Adamson, who kept tabs on him. And they basically robbed a place on Cicero Avenue, 4720 Cicero Avenue, which I think is crazy. I believe Macaulay actually was killed. Yeah, he was shot to death on a lawn when he tried to escape. But there's like stuff like that. And then you have John Voight's character of Nate, and he's based off Eddie Bunker. And for those who don't know who Eddie Bunker is, Eddie Bunker was, of course, he was Mr. Blue in Reservoir Dogs, but Eddie Bunker had a lot of ties to the underworld. He was really, really good friends with Joe Peg Leg Morgan, who was the leader of the Mexican Mafia, who also knew Danny Trejo. Eddie Bunker actually got Danny Trejo into films. And Danny Trejo has talked about this film, which always cracks me up, is Robert De Niro called his house. And when he realized it was Robert De Niro calling, he saw his number, I guess, in the caller ID. He just let it go to voicemail so he could get his voice on voicemail. And he said he kept that message for the longest time because it was like Robert De Niro calling his house, which is awesome. It has an all-star cast of, people in this film. Ashley Judd is in this film. Like, just so many people, and they all do a great job. Like I said, slow burn, but definitely weren't worth it. And when you get to the action, like you're kind of like it kind of draws you into you're like you just hearts racing throughout the action to see what's going to happen.
What I've realized is I love the movies where it's the slow burn, and then at the end, it could be like 4 minutes of the coolest gun action you've ever seen, and it's like, that was worth it. This movie's great. Like, I don't need to see Schwarzenegger gun action throughout the whole movie anymore. I've seen that when I was I want to see something a little bit more smarter, and Heat definitely will give you that if you have not. Or it's been a while, too. It's always good to rewatch Heat.
Yeah. One thing I did notice, Tone, is that cast in the role of the Kilmer role before him was Keanu Reeves.
Ooh.
But he had to drop out due to scheduling. Do you think Keanu Reeves could have done as good a job as Val?
No. I mean, I don't. Now, what my question is now you have to be sincerely honest with me. Would Keanu have dyed his hair blonde and put it in a ponytail like Val, or would it have been dark
black
hair? Dark hair. And
yeah, no, I don't think he would did a horrible job. I don't think he would did like Val.
Now, I will mention one thing about Heat before we move on. There is a musical connection to Heat. There is a performance in this movie that I think is amazing, and that is by one Henry Rollins. He does a really good job in this movie. So it's cool that Michael Mann, I mean, this cast is, like I said, it's stacked. I mean, when you could talk about Hank Azaria is in this movie, you know what I mean? And his role is pretty, he's pretty good in this movie too, in a small role. I always, John Voight, he's ridiculous in this movie. Looks like Hulk Hogan with his hair and his mustache.
Oh my God.
You know who's great in this movie? Wes Studi. He's good. You know, good stuff, man. Great movie.
Yeah, and this film unfortunately inspired the North Hollywood shootout for robberies. If you've seen the film SWAT, the beginning, the opening scene is a North Hollywood shootout. Like, I don't know if they use real footage from it or not, but it's kind of inspired by that. But yeah, really, really good film. All-star cast. If you haven't seen Heat, if there's a film you want to start with two great actors and you want to see a heist film, that should be at the top of your list. But let's move on to your next one, my friend.
I have a riddle for you. For me. Really? Tell me. I see without seeing. To me, darkness is as clear as daylight. What am I?
Please! You're as blind as a bat!
Exactly.
1995's Batman Forever. He plays the role of Bruce Wayne. It was directed by Joel Schumacher, who did Lost Boys, A Time to Kill, Phone Booth, number 23. The sequel to this, Batman and Robin, Flatliners, Cousins, and Falling Down. The film also stars Tommy Lee Jones, Jim Carrey, Nicole Kidman, Chris O'Donnell, Mike Ogow, and Pat Hingle. It had a budget of $100 million and a box office of $336 million. Tone, tell me why you picked Batman Forever.
You know, it was a memorable experience seeing it in the movie theater. I wasn't upset because I also saw the other two, and I wasn't like, this movie sucks. I had fun. We've talked about it here on the show before. The soundtrack I thought was amazing. And I'm not even talking about, you could take the Seal song off, just like the other stuff that was on the soundtrack I thought was really, really good. I like Val as Batman. I do. You know, I could upset a lot of people if I told you that I liked him better than Christian Bale. You know what I mean? Like, I thought he did a fine job just by me seeing him doing it. Now, this is a different Batman than Christian Bale, so me just saying that even sounds a little stupid. But, you know, a continuation from what Michael Keaton was doing, of course, I would have much rather had Michael Keaton back for the third one here. But when you got to see George Clooney do the role, you beg to have Val Kilmer or anybody back to do this. Just for me personally, my experience, but I thought he did a good job in the role.
I would say he did. When it comes to the Batman characters, the Batman character in films, I always separate the two. I would say Christian Bale is the best Bruce Wayne, with Val coming in at second. And I will say Michael Keaton is the best Batman, with
it's good.
It's kind of a tie between Robert Pattinson and Val for my Batman. Robert Pattinson, I thought, really, really did a good job. The thing that hinders this film, and I like this film, the thing that hinders it is like they had a lot of issues with the story. Reason being is there was supposed to be a story where Bruce actually lost his memory, and that's why he's going to Dr. Chase Meridian through the film, and that's why they're going to try to bring back his past and whatnot. But that was kind of scrapped due to studio involvement. Then, there was issues with Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones, where Tommy Lee Jones basically didn't like Jim Carrey. Of course, you had, the Burton films where they're supposed to have Marlon Wayans as Robin. He actually was signed for the film. They actually had to pay him out, and they brought Chris O'Donnell in. Leonardo DiCaprio was actually offered it, but he turned it down because he didn't want to work with Schumacher. They had issues there. Just stuff like that. And it was good. It was enjoyable. I saw this as myself in the theaters as well. So I really liked it. I thought Chris O'Donnell kind of annoyed me as Robin.
Oh yeah, he was probably
brutal. But it always makes me laugh because there's memes of Michael Gow, who plays Alfred, and his obsession with sandwiches. He's always trying to give sandwiches to Bruce or Chris O'Donnell. So there's stuff like that. I thought Tommy Lee Jones' character was ridiculous. As
that was bad too.
Too. And the one thing I will say about this film that is ridiculous is the fact when they're showing Tommy Lee Jones's character when he turns into Two-Face, like he's in court and he's he's arguing for something, and we see the guy at the boss Maroni pull something out of his jacket, and Batman just comes out of nowhere in the fucking jury or like in the court out of nowhere and dives in to try to save him. Now, think about it. Like, you're in court and you're sitting next to a guy in a fucking bat suit, just sitting next to you like nothing. And he just decides to dive. He decides to dive out of nowhere. That's the part that was ridiculous. Now, they would have did like where he got him outside or something, that would have been better. But that part is just ridiculous. Overall, I really, really think that Schumacher did a nice contemplation in terms of style to Burton. Burton was very dark. This film has a lot of nice colors in it. I like the way he shot it. I love Jim Carrey as the Riddler, even though I think Robin Williams again was probably up for the role and they probably screwed him over. I know Mel Gibson was up for Two-Face, which probably would have been horrible. Steve Martin was up for it, but he still was suffering with the loss of John Candy. He still wasn't getting over that. But this film was like the first one after the Burton film, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's gonna fail." And it made a lot of money, and it was kind of like a blessing and a curse for Schumacher because one, I already told you the studio was interfering with his story, his script. Well, Batman and Robin was a complete fucking disaster, and they kind of forced him to do that film, and he hated it. And if you guys have seen the new Flash movie with Ezra Miller, which I'm not a big fan of him, but I do like at the end, spoiler alert, that when he thinks he's seeing Bruce Wayne, and it turns out to be George Clooney, which always cracks me up. But I enjoy this film. I wish they would have did the version that they intended to do, with him losing his his amnesia and whatnot, which is completely deleted in this film.
That would have been nice. Definitely would have been nice.
Yeah, so definitely not the worst Batman. Batman and Robin's horrible. But I mean, Val doesn't get enough credit for being the role of Batman.
No, I mean, again, it's a role that's been done by so many people. So by only doing one movie, and it not being Batman and Robin the worst, to kind of float somewhere where, you know, Jim Carrey's in it and Val's in it, but then again, you got there's some negative in it, and you hit them pretty well. So it's like the music's good, some of the acting's bad, you know, it's all over the place. But himself, he's just Val, man. He's cool.
Yeah, definitely. He didn't hinder. It wasn't him.
No,
the reason the bad things of the film. He did a good job. I do find it funny though when he's out there screaming, "Harvey, I'm Batman," in the circus scene. And I always want, even as a kid, I'm like, why is he saying that? Like, what if somebody's sitting next to him? Like, this guy's fucking saying he's Batman. Like, even as a kid, I was thinking that, but it is what it is, you know. Suspending disbelief for this film. But yeah, of course, you know, you got Kiss from a Rose in this film. I think YouTube's on the album, which, and so is Offspring. So it does have a good soundtrack. I thought Batman and Robin actually had a really, really good soundtrack for a bad film.
Yeah. Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, Smashing Pumpkins. They had, I think, Bone Thugs and Harmony was on that soundtrack.
I'll have to dig into that one sometime. That would be a good one to talk about on here.
Yeah. But if you haven't seen the Batmans, go for the Burton films, and then, you know, there's a third film, which is not that bad. So usually they say it starts high, and it just drops up. I thought Batman was good, Batman Returns was good, and then this one was pretty decent, so it didn't drop off that much, and then you just fucking take a nosedive in the next film. That's why Batman took a while to be resurrected until the Nolan films, unless you're talking about Batman Dead End, where he fights the Predator on YouTube, which is actually a pretty cool 10-minute movie. But yeah, Val as Batman, he was a great actor, so he didn't do too bad. But let's get into our next film, my friend.
Hey, Mother Goose, how's it going? I'm doing good, Tom. This is Pete Mitchell, Tom Kazansky.
Congratulations on Top Gun.
Thank you. Sorry to hear about Cougar. He and I were like brothers in flight school. He was a good man.
Still is a good man.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Thought so.
Say, you need any help?
With what?
You figured it out yet?
What's that?
Who's the best pilot?
No, I think I can figure that one out on my own.
I heard that about you. You like to work alone.
1986 is Top Gun. He plays the role of Tom Kamansky, aka the Iceman. It was directed by Tony Scott, who did Unstoppable, Man on Fire, Domino, Deja Vu, Spy Game, The Last Boy Scout, True Romance, and Days of Thunder. The film stars Tom Cruise, Tim Robbins, Kelly McGinnis, Anthony Edwards, Tom Skerritt, Michael Ironside, and John Stockwell. It had a budget of $15 million and made a whopping $357 million at the box office. You knew we were going to talk about this film. You can't talk Val Kilmer without talking the role of Iceman, and one of his most iconic roles of his career, opposite of Tom Cruise. Everybody remembers his crazy chomping of his teeth that he does, the sound. Yeah, I don't know why the fuck he does that. Everybody remembers them playing volleyball with the shirtless.
Spin the ball.
Yeah, spin the ball. And he's just kind of an asshole in this film. But me watching this film, the more and more I watched it, the more and more I realized Maverick is like the real asshole of Top Gun, because he doesn't want to listen. While Iceman is a good pilot, he does follow what he needs to follow, and Maverick is just fucking crazy. And unfortunately, Goose dies. Spoiler: if you haven't seen the film, I'm sorry. The film's like 30 years old, but this, of course, spawned Top Gun Maverick, where he reprised his role and eventually died in that film. But you can't talk Top Gun without mentioning Val Kilmer. It's his icon. It's one of his iconic films and one of the best 80 films there is. Especially for a film that was inspired by a magazine article on Top Gun, which is the flight school. But Tom, what do you think about it?
Back, I remember 9, 10, 11, we used to play Top Gun out on the playground, and man, I needed to be Iceman, and because to me he was the coolest. It wasn't Tom Cruise. To me, he just that wasn't who I wanted to be. I think it was because of just like the aura that Val has in this movie, which I wasn't thinking about until we were putting the show together. Like when you really think about it, I mean, this is just like, right after Real Genius. So you think of like the way he acts or whatnot, and then he acts in this. It's like you're getting two different people, you're getting two opposites on the spectrum of cool. But that's what I think makes Val a good actor, is like he can play bad guys, he can play jerks, he can play guys you think are jerks but real cool guys. He can play guys with tattoos, he can play guys, my question to you that I wanted to ask, which I was going to pick this movie, but I was going to find it hilarious to try to talk about his performance. What's the other Tony Scott movie that Val Kilmer is in?
Is he in Spy Game?
I'll give you a hint. He plays a musical icon in it. And it ain't Jim Moore. It's not Jim Morrison.
No. Let me think.
But you never really see him. You don't really ever see his face in the movie, but it's him. He talks to him in the bathroom the whole movie.
Oh, I know what you're talking. Oh, give me a second. Let me think about this. It's is this what the fuck? Oh,
Christian Slater.
True Romance.
Yep. Which I was being funny, and I was going to pick that one, but it was like what I was going to talk about. Like, he does a great job in the movie, but again, it's a great performance for him, because it's just like you hear his voice and you hear like the mysteriousness to it.
That's
Elvis. The same thing. Yes, the same thing in this movie. There's a mysteriousness to his role. Like you, though, here's my funny part about this, watching this, was like, who are they fighting?
I don't know.
Bother me a lot. I mean, it's a fun movie and all, but like, don't read too much into it.
I thought they're fighting Russia or something.
That's what like I've been told, but it's like there is no clear. It's just literally we're fighting, and then I love the movie though. I mean, it's a lot of fun. Real sad though when Goose goes. That I remember even as a kid, that bothered me. But again, I like his friend. I like you got Mr. from the Terminator, Rick Rossovich, is his friend in this. You also got like Tim Robbins at the end holding his helmet. There's a lot of again, it's a good 80s movie. And and I think this is just as much Val Kilmer as it is Tom Cruise. And it's a shame Val Kilmer, it's not a shame because I'm glad he was in Maverick, but it's a shame because I wish he could have did as much as Tom Cruise did. I think it would have been cool.
Yeah, I wish he could have, if he was healthier to do it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But it's good. You still got to get him to be in it, and Tom Cruise fought to have that, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, the crazy thing is, this film was criticized for being a Navy propaganda, and it led to a 500% recruitment increase. Everything's propaganda, man. It's films. Yeah. So I mean, it happens. Crazy thing I did see though about Michael Ironside, who's in this film, who's probably like a great character actor. Another person doesn't get his due.
Scanners.
Yeah, he's also in Starship Troopers. He's in Total Recall.
See you at the party, Richter.
Yeah, it was heads.
Love that.
Is he gonna remember this? He just pushes him in the face. But he was so convincing as a Navy officer. A real sailor slowed down upon seeing him. So he was scared as shit out of real sailors. But
Strickland is in this. This is great from Back to the Future.
Yes. Hey, Strickland. Every time I remember that when they start shooting at him. Hey, Strickland. See, man, we just go off on tangents here.
I love it. It's great.
But this is a film that Val Kilmer actually did not want to do, but he was contractually obligated to do, and he ended up enjoying his experience. And the real life tension between Kilmer and Cruise was actually put into their characters, which I thought was pretty cool. And final little trivia I'll give you guys is We all know Tom Cruise is a small guy. I think he's like 5'5". He had to wear lifts with his scenes with Kelly McGillis. due to their height differences.
Which is one of the things I would yell on the playground when I didn't want to be him. I'm like, isn't he shorter than him? I don't want to be him, because I was like the taller one, and like everyone else was shorter. And then, but still, I mean, Val was cool in this movie. Very cool.
One more thing I'll tell you right now, because we mentioned the volleyball scene. That scene nearly resulted in Tony Scott's firing due to homoeroticism, which shows what Hollywood was thinking back then. But it's ridiculous. But I like this film. Totally 80s. Totally 80s.
Oh, it is. And again, another stellar soundtrack. I mean, Danger Zone, Take My Breath Away.
Won an Oscar for that role.
Yeah, I mean, it's loaded. Gloria Estefan and the Miami Sound Machine, just really, really good stuff. And I mean, honestly, also probably listed, I mean, one of the more successful soundtracks of all time too. So just really, really, really good.
Yeah. So if you whenever you mention Val Kilmer, Iceman always comes up. So we had to throw that in for his iconic roles. But this next film, Tom, when I saw this, I laughed. So I tried to pick out one of the funniest parts of this film. Let's go into your next one.
Go. Sleep badly. Any questions, hesitate to call.
Bad.
Excuse me?
Sleep bad. Because otherwise it makes it seem like the mechanism that allows you to sleep.
What? Fuckhead? Badly's an adverb. Who taught you grammar? Get out. Vanish.
That scene always cracks me up. 2005's Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He plays the role of Gay Perry. It was directed by Shane Black, who also directed The Predator, The Nice Guys, Edge, Iron Man 3, and he wrote films like The Last Boy Scout, Lethal Weapon, and Last Action Hero. The film also stars Robert Downey Jr., Michelle Monaghan, Corbin Burnson, Larry Miller, and Rockman Dunbar. It had a budget of $15 million and a box office of $15 million. Tone, tell us why you picked Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
When I saw this in 2005, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I hadn't seen, well, honestly, that's a lie. I had bought Salt and Sea, which is another movie of his, a few years earlier, but I hadn't seen Val in a long time. So when I saw Val was in this, and likewise, I hadn't seen Robert Downey Jr. in a long time. So when watching this, Robert Downey Jr. does a great job in this movie. Val does a great job in this movie. It's hilarious when reading about this. Shane Black said he wanted Jack Nicholson in As Good as It Gets, but in the movie Chinatown, which Jack Nicholson's also it. So he's playing the character he does in this movie, but in this movie, that's kind of like what this is there's a lot of anxiety and neuroticism, and it's a good, fun detective noir film. And to be fair, I wish it would have done to Val's career what it did to Robert Downey Jr.'s, because this, by all indications, is the movie that really started to say, oh, yeah, he's back. I remember Robert Downey Jr., he's back, goodness, because his wife is the one who got him this role. He wasn't even going to get it, but back to Val Kilmer, I mean, I think they work great together. And you also got to tell yourself, I mean, they had to know each other in the 80s. That's why I love these movies, because, they're both in Hollywood in 85, Rodney, back to school. They knew each other. So when they're in this movie, they have to be familiar with one another, which I think it shows in their camaraderie throughout the whole entire movie.
Yeah. For one, their chemistry in this film is excellent. This is a black comedy, like a black comedy film. And like you said, in terms of Robert Downey Jr., he credits
it's a Shane Black comedy. No,
yeah, that's a dad joke. But he credits Shane Black with his career revival, which is why he pushed for him to direct Iron Man 3. One cool thing I saw when doing research for this is, of course, Val's character is named Gay Perry, and it's like a play on Gay Paris, which is French. He's also one of the first openly gay leads in Hollywood, in a detective action film at the time, which I thought was kind of cool. There's a scene where he's telling like Robert Downey Jr. about like some girl. He's like, "Yeah, she sat on my lap," and he's like, "Really?" And he's like, "No, you idiot!" Just like their chemistry is so good between the two. Like I laughed at a lot in this film, and I loved it for it. Just to show how they were on the same page, and out of respect for his friend. Kilmer refused to drink at all during filming because, again, Downey Jr. had issues as an addict, and he wanted to support his friend and refused to have anything like that around, just to help him in his sobriety. Um, Kilmer joked about channeling Kevin Bacon when kissing Robert Downey Jr.'s character, which I thought was great. And he also forgot he was gay in a scene, almost kissing Harmony. Thanks before stopping mid hug. Just like stuff like that just shows that they had a really, really fun time doing this. Like their chemistry is really, really good. Kilmer, of course, coming off Alexander, he had to lose 50 pounds for this role. And he signed on to reading the script halfway through because he knew Robert Downey Jr. was going to be in it. A film that doesn't get talked about a lot, man. And it's one of those buddy cop films that should be up there. Like it should be up there when we talk about those films. It just doesn't get talked about enough.
It's back to like we talked about this before. We talked about The Judge. We talked about this movie. I want more of this from Robert Downey Jr. I think he's good for it, and he's great for it, and this is a good indication. And working with someone like Val, it just made the movie even more, it made it more better, and like these movies get lost in the fold and they don't really get made as much. Pretty cool though, I find on the soundtrack is Robert Downey Jr. sings a song on the soundtrack called Broken, which is really kind of cool. So it's you get a little bit of both in this movie. Robert Downey Jr. singing on the soundtrack and acting awesome, along with the amazing Val Kilmer.
Yeah, and I think even though Downey is going into the Avengers movies, he has a new movie coming out. Well, it's not coming out anytime soon, but it's in development with Christopher Nolan called Die Early.
Oh, cool.
And it's about like through layers of reality, basically with your mind.
That would be awesome.
Which I think is going to be pretty cool.
I'll take that.
So
I'll take him working as a store clerk, and he just brings people up all day, and I'd be like, this movie's amazing. Anything with him, he's a good actor.
Yeah, I loved him in Back to School.
I mean, and even back to the Avengers, he's going to be great in that. It's back to like what we said about Batman. Val isn't the problem with Batman, and neither will be Robert Downey Jr. with this new movie. If anything, that's why we're going to go see it.
Yeah. But Val, their chemistry plays really, really well. It's one of like those films that, I was really happy to see Val in. And, again, this is the film that kind of like launched Robert Downey Jr.'s comeback. And he has said himself that this is his favorite movie among all his roles, which I think is crazy.
Awesome.
Of course, this was said before he won his Oscar, so I don't know. But that's pretty cool. If you haven't seen it, please check out Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. It's will be worth your time, and you'll laugh just like I did. I actually rewatched this today, Tom, because I haven't seen it in a while. And I'm like, oh, let me watch this one. And I was laughing, especially at that part when he's like, "Get out of my car." But good pick, man.
Awesome.
But let's get into our next film, my friend.
You weigh 173, yeah? You're not a beer drinker. You're one of these tofu and pilaf characters. You wear your gun on your right hip, but you got a backup. A little 32, 38 maybe. In an ankle holster. Gives you a left foot drag. You're wearing brand new shoes that are a little too tight in the instep, but man, they look cool, and that's what counts. Am I right? Oh, horse?
Fuck you.
You'd love to.
1992's Thunderheart. He plays the part of Ray Lavoie. It's directed by Michael Apted, who did Amazing Grace, Enigma, Gorillas in the Mist, 56 Up, and Incident at Ogalla. The film stars Sam Shepard, Graham Greene, Fred Ward, Fred Thompson, Shalia Tousey, Ted Thin Elk, John Trudell, and Julius Drum. It had a budget of $15 million and a box office of $22 million. I did this a review for this film on our channel when we first started. This is one of my favorite films of Val Kilmer, if not my favorite film. Reason being is because one, I know we talked about last week about the casting of actors that were of different ethnicities, and roles that they weren't. And we argue about the Pacino, Scarface, but this film I really like is because they actually use a lot of indigenous actors. Every person in this film that plays an indigenous person is of an indigenous ancestry. Fred Ward is Cherokee. Dinthel Elk is Native, as well as John Trudell. And this film is based off, a dramatization of the 1972 Wounded Knee issue that happened on the reservations in Pine Ridge. I really, really loved the story of it. It shows one of my favorite lines. It's a favorite line to a film because it actually expresses a lot of what is going on even today in a lot of reservations. Is Sam Shepard's character says, a third world country smack down in the middle of America, and that's how a lot of reservations look. And people don't really get a lot of views upon it because it's not really reported that much. But this film shows it, and I thought Michael Apted, who did Incident Agala, which is a documentary basically going into a real incident that happened there, does a great job of showing this film. Also, John Fusco, who wrote Young Guns, he actually lived on a Lakota reservation for a long time and used his experiences there to write this script. So I think everything has it going for it. You have Val Kilmer, who does a great role as Ray Lavoie, who's a person that kind of is ashamed of his heritage. When the film, he's a Fort Sioux, but in real life, he's an 8th Cherokee. Kilmer is, and he got, he was known for being a rough guy, a person that didn't do well on set, like a prima donna on set. And they said that when he got with Ted Thin Elk, who plays Grandpa in this film, like he just bonded with him and like became like his best friend on the set, which is awesome. Graham Greene does a great job as Crowhorse, and you feel bad for Sheila Tousey in the film as Maggie. One cool thing before I pass over to you, Tone, is that they have a film they're called ARM in here, the activists that they're trying to break. The fictional ARM movement in the film is based on the American Indian movement, which had real life confrontations with the FBI during the 70s. The cool thing about this is that the character of Jimmy Looks Twice, played by John Trudell, who does a great monologue about how natives will always be with the earth and they'll die for the earth. I saw it saying in my video, but he was actually the president of AIM when this happened. So he's basically reliving his role. And this film has a lot of similarities to Jimmy going to jail for something he didn't do, which is a lot of people believe is what happened with Leonard Peltier, who just got pardoned by President Biden before he left office, and went back home after like almost 50 years in jail. Very, very powerful film. I think it's a great job done by all the actors in it. And if you haven't seen it, I highly, highly recommend you guys to see it. What do you think about it, Tom?
Well, I mean, you said everything that I thought about it. It probably is, if not my favorite performance of his, definitely in the top 3. Rented this one with my mom right when it came out. We watched it. The movie is very powerful. Like you stated that. I watched it with Katie, and Katie loved the movie. And I think that's probably why I love Katie, is because she immediately, when seeing this, can she can feel exactly what the movie's trying to put out. There's a vibe going on throughout the whole entire movie, and the cinematography is beautiful. It's shot just excellently with great performances, and Graham Greene does a great job. The interaction between him and Val Kilmer. There's the one scene where he's like, I don't know exactly how he says it because I'm going to get the quote wrong, but like Val's speeding or whatever, and he's like, "I think the wind said you went 45," because he's like, and the way he says it, like, I'll never forget. Like Katie, like laughs super hard because it's funny, but it's like that's why I like in a super serious movie a little quirk like that can make you chuckle. Little stuff that can make you think, and that's the movie is an excellent representation like that. And you can also attest, I mean, this is definitely a one of a kind film. There is nothing else like it. I don't feel, I mean, there's great movies, great feeling movies, but this is definitely different because another movie that I have watched that I was turned on to by a coworker. He told me to check out Smoke Signals, and that movie I mean, I'm telling you, like, honestly, the movie blew me away. And honestly, to the point where, like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I teared up at the end, but that's what I do, because what it is for me, for a movie, if you could empathetically get in, you're the character in the movie. And if you could empathetically feel it, and then it sticks with you for a long time, and this movie stuck with me for over 30 years, then you have great art.
Yeah, it is a movie that sticks with me. Like I still watch this film, and I still like enamored with it. Just for not just for culture wise, but just more for the message it speaks.
Yeah.
But like you said, there are a lot of like comedic little bits in this film. Especially when they do the trade with Grandpa, and he gives him a rock for his Ray-Bans.
Yeah.
And then he tries it. Then he trades with Crow Horse, and Crow Horse has his Ray-Bans on, and he's like, "I'll do a trade with you." And he tries to give him the rock. He's like, "That's a rock, Ray. I'm not going to trade you with that." Like stuff like that because I know they're fucking with them. Just little things like that crack me up. But it's powerful. It sends a message of how things were. It shows how natives were treated. Still are in certain areas. But I think everyone in the film does a great job. Ted Thinelk, who you're showing a picture of with Val Kilmer, does a great job. And I thought Fred Ward did a great job as Jack Milton, as kind of the asshole tribe leader. He's based off Nick Wilson.
This movie too. I often forget he's even in this one. Because I often, honestly, besides thinking of these two and Green, I often think of Sam Shepard. I think he does a good job in this movie.
Yeah, Cooch.
Too. Yeah,
Cooch could tell, and it shows how the FBI was dirty, man. I like that scene. That scene,
scene's great.
Stronghold, yeah. But if you haven't seen it, definitely check out Thunderheart. It's a powerful film, and I really like John Fusco, who follows I believe he follows the show on Twitter.
Yeah.
Shout out to John Fusco if you're listening. But yeah, this next film, Tone, that we picked, we go from a serious film to this this wacky film that I totally forgot he was in. But let's get to it right now. Let's talk about it.
Introduce the American to the men.
Very well. This is Chevalier, Montage, Détente, Avant-Garde, and Déjà Vu.
Have we not met before, monsieur?
I don't think so.
Au revoir. Croissant, soufflé, escargot, chocolate mousse.
Chocolate mousse. 1984's Top Secret. He plays the role of Nick Rivers. This film was directed by 3 people, so I'm going to go through their filmography of some of the films they directed. The first being John Abrams, who did Mafia, Hot Shots Part 1 and Part 2, Big Business, Ruthless People, and Airplane. Also by David Zucker, who also directed Ruthless People, Airplane, The Naked Gun 1 and 2, Scary Movies 3 and 4, My Boss's Daughter, and Basketball. And then finally by Jerry Zucker, who did Rat Race, which is a great film that doesn't get talked about, Ghost, First Night, also Ruthless People, and Airplane. The film stars Val Kilmer, Omar Sharif, Jeremy Kemp, and Warren Clark. It had a budget of $9 million and a box office of $20 million. Tell me about Top Secret, my man.
We have talked earlier tonight. We mentioned Naked Gun. you just mentioned pretty much a murderer's row of spoof movies. This is again a top spoof movie. And it took like we had like a good group of friends of us, and we still, if we see each other, we just say the name spoof, like because what spoof is like you're talking serious, but ridiculous stuff is going on around you. You may say it, but you have to still have like a serious face. So like in this movie, there's just so many great one-liners. Like he's like sitting with this girl, and he's like, yeah, they're like talking about what they talk, and he's like, yeah, I know some Russian, and she's like, I know a little German. He's sitting right over there, and he's got like a little hat because he's like literally a little German, like not like everything is literally. I guess when you think about it now, spoof is like the first dad jokes because it's just like stuff that you're seeing, and they're like taking it and like a guy in the movies using like he's got his magnifying glass and his eye's really big, so when he removes it, his eye's still really big, like it never was the magnifying glass, like stupid stuff like that. Val Kilmer's great in this movie as we're gonna get to a little while later, but this I believe is kind of like a precursor to some of the other musical stuff that he did later, because there's some really ridiculous musical montages in this, spoofing like the Beach Boys. There's the one song where they're all like, I think they got guns on the beach or whatever, and they're surfing, like just trying to be funny with so many different things. And this movie and Real Genius are like, two 80s movies, but this one is like his first movie, so it's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. This is one of his first films, and then this is Peter Cushing's last film, American film. Peter Cushing for the Van Hammer for the Hammer films. Van Hammer's a wrestler, and also has for Star Wars. But this is his last American film. But when you were talking about like the spoof of it, this trivia point I picked out was basically the waiter, who appears to be speaking German, actually says in Yiddish a curse meaning "go take a shit in the ocean." Which just cracked me up when I was reading it. Yeah, this is the people who were behind the minds of Police Story and behind Airplane and Naked Gun, and it's basically like a top secret is basically like a James Bond comedy, like rip off of that. It's basically with Johnny Dangerously with Mr. Bean, a better version of that film than this one, or The Cleaner with was it Cedric the Entertainer, Cleaner. This film is way better, and it still cracks me up, just like stuff like little things, just like you said, the little actualities, like a little German guy, and then
well, there's like a scene where he's like they're crawling on their knees, and it's like dun dun dun. It's like a pair, but it's like shoes, but it's literally just a pair of shoes right there, and they have to like keep walking, like. Or there's the part the guard's in the tower and he falls, but he shatters like glass, like when he hits the ground. Like it's just like stupid after stupid.
Or
after
even
stupid.
when they're trying to get up the tower, they throw the hook twice.
Well, yeah.
It's just like, and then they run away. Like the guards don't even notice what the hell's going on. It's just ridiculous. And I really enjoyed this film. If you haven't seen it, like you want to see like the old, like Tony just gave a great word, spoof. You want to see the old spoof comedy films of like James Bond, this is the one they'll go to. And you might see a little Easter egg of who Val Kilmer was dating at the time in his prison cell.
Yes.
But yeah, good pick on this one. You picked the Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and this one just cracked me up when I saw him when you sent it to me. I totally forgot about this film too. But let's go into our final two.
Wretched slugs. Don't any of you have the guts to play for blood?
I'm your huckleberry. That's just my game.
All right, Lunger. You go to hell. I'll put you out of your misery.
Say wham.
Johnny, don't! No, Johnny, whoa. Get off! Get off!
Don't mind him. He's just drunk, that's all.
1993's Tombstone, he played the role of Doc Holliday. It was directed by George Cosmatos, who also did Cobra, Rambo First Blood 2, Shadow Conspiracy, Leviathan, and Massacre in Rome. The film also stars Kurt Russell, Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, Powers Booth, Michael Biehn, and Charlton Heston. It also had a box office of $50 million and a budget of $25 million. Again, this is a film you cannot... When you talk about Tombstone, you got to talk about his portrayal of Doc Holliday. It's iconic. I know we talked about this before. I personally think that Kilmer should have got nominated for at least an Oscar for this film, because if Thunderheart is his most powerful film, this is probably his best acting role. He embodied who Doc Holliday was. I know they did a film with Kevin Costner called Wide Earp, and Tombstone always is more of my favorite, not just because Kurt Russell's in it. It's because of Val Kilmer. And I think he overshadows Kurt in this film just for his acting alone. I think a lot of the supporting actors actually overshadow Kurt. In Powers Booth and Michael Biehn, they overshadow him. And Kurt Russell's like one of my favorite actors. You know, Michael Biehn does a great job. Just an all-star cast. Powers Booth is awesome. And you can kind of see how he is in the film, not the film, but the series Deadwood. You kind of draw some of his character from there. But, you know, Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday is just excellent. I mean, he has so many great lines in here. Such as,
I got you now, you son of a bitch. You're Daisy if you do.
Or this one.
And you, music lover, you're next.
Drunk piano player. You're so drunk you can't hit nothing. In fact, you're probably seeing double.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Yeah, it's just greatly cast. Now, is it an Oscar-winning movie? No. By far no. But his role is excellent, and I think he should have got accommodated for his role. I don't think he should have won the Oscar, but he definitely should at least have gotten a nomination. And by far, the best portrayal in my book of Doc Holliday by any actor is the one done by Val Kilmer. What do you think about this one, Tom?
I was unaware that this is the same gentleman that directed Cobra.
Yes.
Hey, dirtbag. You're a lousy shot. I don't like lousy shots.
I'm sure. Again, I picked it for the show tonight, and you mentioned that he was Cobra, and I'm like, wow, I was trying to fit this in. But back to Val. Again, you're absolutely right. Amazing on the acting front in this movie. Great mustache, too, when you really think about it. But that whole I'm your Huckleberry, I mean, you got to say that's got to be in the top 100 lines of all. I mean, like in film history. I mean, that line... It's a great line. And just the way he sells it in the movie and how many times I've heard it. And you're right. I mean, I'm just as big of a Kurt Russell fan as you are, and Val overshadows him in this movie. I think Kurt plays almost like, I don't know any other movie where I feel this way about Kurt. Like he's almost like too vanilla in this movie. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, and that's maybe my problem. Like he isn't really a BA, but he's like just there. I don't know. Whereas Val is just cool, and like as you stated, I mean, Powers Booth is great. Michael Biehn, great. You know, I mean, a lot of great side performances in this movie. We used to laugh about Jason Priestley's performance in this movie. I mean, there's
they were my friends. They're my friends. He killed them.
But again, you know, Val does such a good job in this movie.
Yeah, and this film came out 6 months before Costner's Wide Earp. Kevin Costner seems to like really, really not do well in terms of Western films. I know he did like
I want to ask you a question since you brought it. Oh, will you go about Westerns and Kevin Costner? Because today I was reading Quentin Tarantino said, a great movie. I've never seen it. It's called Open Range. You ever seen Open? Is that a good movie?
That film is very good. That film
Is it?
actually has
I'll watch that
the
one.
father from The Judge. He's also
Robert Duvall.
Yeah, Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
Very good film. Actually, my buddy
watch.
from the county, shout out Hop, my boy Hopkins. He actually put me onto that film. He's like, you gotta watch, and it has an awesome shootout scene.
I'll watch it. Yeah. I'll definitely watch this weekend.
But you know,
Billy Zane too's in this. I forgot Tombstone too.
he gets the shit beat out of him. But you know, in terms of like other Costner films, like his other westerns, just haven't done too well at the box office. I know his last two, America and it bombed. I don't know if it was any good. I didn't see it.
Try to watch it on Netflix. I couldn't. It didn't.
Yeah.
You got to make your western look like the classic. It looks too like new film. Like it just didn't look good.
Yeah, I think he was just trying to ride that success of Yellowstone.
You ever see Bone Tomahawk with Kurt Russell?
Yeah, so I was going to put that in 30 Days of Horror. But I watched it again and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't like really portray indigenous people too well in the good lights. So I did not put it in it, but yeah, I've seen it. It's kind of stereotypical for indigenous people in that film, but it's a horror film. But this film, I think Kurt is just vanilla, like he said. In terms of the I'm Your Huckleberry, if you go on YouTube and you search I'm Your Huckleberry song, a guy actually made a song to that line. And it's actually really, really done well, Tone. You would appreciate it. Like
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's actually done really, really well. And he he has it like on a soundboard, and then he plays a guitar riff to it and a bass riff, and then he just adds little pieces to it. But yeah, this is Val Kilmer, in my opinion, Val Kilmer's best acting role. He was in his prime, as he says in the film. It's got so many like people in here that, you know, you just said like Billy Zane's in here. You have Michael Roker's in here. He plays one of the people that help them out and ends up getting killed. Harry Carey Jr.'s in here. He's a famous actor from like the old westerns. He plays a sheriff that gets killed. Stuff like that, like little scenes like that, and for people who are in here that you're like, oh yeah, I remember him being in that film.
I really like Robert Mitchum doing as the narrator. You know, I mean, pretty cool.
Yeah. But I'll always remember Doc Holliday, and from this film, I'll always remember Sam Elliott's mustache. And when he's about to fight Buddy in the bar, don't push me, boy. Get the hell out of here. But yeah, definitely a classic film, and we cannot mention Val Kilmer without this film and without Top Gun, in my opinion. But let's get into your final film, Tone, with this one.
I go out on stage and howl for people. Me, they see exactly what they want to see. Some say Lizard King, whatever that means. Or some black-clad leather demon, whatever that means. But really, I think of myself as a sensitive, intelligent human being, but with the soul of a clown that always forces me to blow it at the most crucial moments.
1991's The Doors, he plays the role of Jim Morrison. It was directed by Oliver Stone, who did Snowden, Savages, World Trade Center, U-Turn, Any Given Sunday, and Wall Street. And then he also did all these president films called W, Nixon, and JFK. You know, when I was doing his filmography, I'm like, damn, Oliver Stone's done a shitload of president films.
Yes.
The film also stars Meg Ryan, Kyle MacLachlan, Frank Whaley, Kevin Dillon, Michael Wincott, and Michael Madsen. It had a box office of $34 million on a $38 million budget. Tell me why you picked this one.
Well, I think there's two movies in mine and your impasse of films. Just two. This is the only two in my mind that me and you debated about. One was last week with Scarface, and the second one is this film right here. But I want to have an honest discussion with you. Okay. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you that Pacino, Scar. I'll give you all that. Okay. He does a good job playing Jim Morrison. Now, the movie itself is not the best, but I will also tell you, I think it's a better movie than Scarface. But that's just me.
I'll give you that.
And then guess what? Then look at that. It's all solved. Shake. We move forward, because the truth of the matter is there's a lot of stuff in this movie that is out there. And I believe if you trimmed it up and cleaned it up and maybe made some more valuable stuff to the story, you could have had a great movie. Now, I don't think this movie's great by any stretch or any means. I find it to be a good watchable music biography, but I find it to be really good because I think Val Kilmer really laid it all on the line to play Jim Morrison. Now, what the end result was, what Oliver Stone put together, just like in Scarface, you know, it could leave the viewer to be, you know, because it's not a straight up biography. There's some acid trip interludes. There's the naked Indian walking in the desert, you know, weird stuff going on. But there's also stuff in the movie that I will say that I enjoy. I liked in the movie the whole time. It's the foreboding of him dying. Like he's doing these things, but there's times where they keep showing him in the tub, but like from the back angle, and it keeps getting closer to where he ends up going and being. And he dies when he's young. So like the movie is pretty much, but it's again, Scarface is a very indulgent 80s picture. Like it took all of what the 80s was and like made it into a movie of self-indulgence, which isn't good at times because it looks dated. In this movie, there's a self-indulgence with like these interludes, but like as a fan of the Doors and loving the music, and it's not like, you know, I think he does a great job in this movie.
So I agree with you. This film is better than Scarface. I think you hit the nail on the head with everything that I kind of feel about this film in terms of why I don't like it. I think Val's portrayal of Jim Morrison is the best part of this whole film. I think his acting is spot on. His singing is spot on to the point where people were like, wow, he really, he sung like Morrison a little bit. There's just, I think Stone, and I don't know, like at least in Scarface, it has, you kind of know where it's going in terms of, you know, the rise of power and the fall. This film, you kind of see, like you're saying, it's going through Jim's mind of him, you know, it's getting closer and closer. Like kind of like I think this film tried to portray like it's his life passing through his mind before he died. And the whole thing with the indigenous person being naked, walking in sand, that was stupid. I didn't like the part where, you know, Ray's looking at him and he's dancing around, and then Ray, for some reason, sees a indigenous person dancing with him, which makes no damn sense. Just stuff like that. I thought like Val's, you know, delivery of his lines were very good. Like the opening line clip I played for, you know, its introduction to this film. I love the fact he's sitting in a spotlight with his beard, and he's just like, it's just him talking, like kind of like you think he's talking to the producer, but he's just kind of like talking amongst himself. And I like that part of it. I thought Val was very good in it. And you know, he was like he's at the bright spot of the film. Like, and me being a huge fan of the Doors, you know, I told you this before. Ray Manzarek went to my high school. He did a concert at my high school when he was touring again, the Doors of 21st Century. He mentioned this film. They asked him about it on stage, and Ray Manzarek in his drunken state said, love Val Kilmer, did a great job as Jim. He goes, but Jim was so much more than what they portrayed in the film. Oliver Stone didn't know what he was doing. In terms of, he goes, it was just a bad film. But I do like the music in it.
All week, it wasn't Top Gun that they brought Val Kilmer up on. Every news station that I saw, it was Val Kilmer of The Doors. I mean, most of it was The Doors was the movie that they mentioned after his passing this week. So but that doesn't mean the movie's a good movie. It means he has a good portrayal. The second thing I will suggest to you, and I'll just say this to you, is, of all the movies, even out of Cheech and Chong, out of How High, Half Baked, out of any movie you've ever seen, this is one of the only movies that, like, watching it stone cold sober is definitely going to even be more of it's going to kill you, because it's definitely, like you said, there's a lot of weirdness going on in the movie. So it's almost like what Stone wanted you to do is be part of the weirdness too. But if you're not, but it's also, again, you shouldn't have to have that with movies. Movies should be interchangeable no matter what. Some of the side performances, like Kyle MacLachlan, I thought did a good job as Ray in the movie. I think, there was my favorite probably is Crispin Glover playing
Andy Warhol.
Hey, can I tell you, there's some really out there stuff in it. Of course, I don't like, of course they got, he's abusive in one scene, puts her in the closet and tries to set it on fire, like stuff like that. I mean, of course, Ray Manzarek, if you see that, you're like, he was much more than an abusive guy, because it's a 2-hour movie and there's like some bad stuff in there. I mean, again, I think Val did a great job. I think Oliver Stone, is Oliver Stone. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. Like, Oliver Stone's Oliver Stone,
but he is. But like, there's a movie that I enjoy that I don't think you enjoy either, because I think I've heard you talk bad about it. Savages, which, again, that's a straight film movie by Oliver Stone, and I think I like that movie, but that's me, and we'll talk about that one at a later date.
I didn't think it was horrible, but it wasn't.
Well, for me, I really enjoyed Benicio in that movie, so it's
hard.
Him
and Salma Hayek were the best parts of the film.
But but again, there is also you're going to find some negatives in Oliver Stone's work, and in this one.
But the thing is, like, I don't hate Oliver Stone films. Like, I don't hate Scarface. I just don't like certain parts of it. Like, I think U-Turn's awesome. I think
great.
And I don't like Jennifer Lopez.
Rewind that again. What did you just say about Scarface? Because I agree with you. That's
I don't
me.
think Scarface. I don't hate Scarface. I just think there's parts of it I don't like. I just don't like the movie.
True. I agree with that.
But like,
this is the last thing I'm going to say about Scarface, because you're right. I was thinking about our conversation, but then I was doing some research online about it also, and it's like, I get what you're saying about somebody playing a character, and having it being a good representation, okay? But I mean, are we really upset when the character isn't portrayed and the character is actually a piece of shit? Like Scarface, like a cokehead. Like, oh man, the cokehead wasn't actually a Guatemala cokehead, so it's not good. Like, if it's a family man and it's not being played, I get your point. But if the character is a negative stereotype, why do you want the guy to go in there to play the negative stereotype?
To me, it's just like Stone's known for writing these classic films, and then he writes. It's lazy writing, man. Like, fucking give the guy more
lazy writing. And there is some of that in The Doors. But if you go ahead and take just the concert scenes in this movie, like if the movie was just the 3 concert scenes minus the Indian scene when you were dancing around the fire, where you sort of like, why is he seeing that? You take that out of there. But the actual scenes when he's on the stage, he's singing, that stuff is actually shot really well. But again, there's too much other like BS in there.
Yeah, and I think Ray Manzarek said another criticism of the film was that it perpetrated, Morris's drunken image more at the expense of his artistry, calling it a third of it fiction. Like, that's what he said that he didn't like.
That's true.
It's just stuff like that. Like, I did find it funny that Frank Whaley is Robbie Krieger, and Frank Raley, if those who don't know him, he was in this film called Career Opportunities.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yes, Stuck in a Store with Jennifer Connelly. Frankie World. It was or Jimmy World, whatever the hell his name was in that movie. I always remember that movie too. Jim World was his name. But that film I remember him from, and then he like was in this one, and then like the last time I saw him, he was in School of Rock as like a manager of the show. But
he's great. He's in a scary movie. He's the scary bad guy in Vacancy.
Yeah,
with Luke Wilson.
That
he showed up actually recently. Like there's like with Liev Schreiber, a show called Ray Donovan.
Mhm.
He showed up and he's had this ridiculous mustache. So he's a good little actor. But again, in this movie, I think out of all the band members, he probably does the weakest.
Yes.
I really like Kevin Dillon though as John Densmore, where he's like yelling at Morrison.
Mhm.
So get together, Morrison. This the way the movie ends is kind of I don't like the way that it ends. That I'll be honest with you, The Doors either. Whereas like you could honestly say that the shootout at the end of Scarface is kind of cool. But like the end of The Doors where they're like he goes to the Manzarek party and he falls asleep at the table or whatever, and they like wake him up and they're like, Jim, your flight's ready. And like he gets up and whatever, and then next thing you know, he's dead in Paris. There's some bad stuff in the movie. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I just don't enjoy it. Val's best is the best part of the film. And I'll say this. If Val Kilmer wasn't playing Jim Morrison for the singing, for his delivery, this film is a million times worse.
Yeah.
There's nobody else that could have done the role. And when doing research for this, Kilmer's vocals were put over Doors instrumentals, and his vocals just replaced Jim's vocals. Jim Morrison had this like particular style of singing, and Val I think nailed it.
Sure.
One thing I thought was kind of cool though, Tone, was I talked about the Doors of the 21st century. The Doors actually had that revival group of had Robbie Krieger, Ty Dennis on drums, and
John
Ray
Dennis.
Manzarek. No, Ty Dennis was his name for the revival plan.
Well, it started with Densmore, and Densmore got in a fight with the other guys, and then Ty Dennis took over.
Yeah, but when Manzarek did his revival, like his touring again.
Oh yes, got
yeah, he had Ty Dennis took over on drums, and
cool.
Ray Manzarek came back along with Robbie Krieger, and their lead singer was Ian Astbury of the Cult.
Mm-hmm.
Which when I was looking at this, he actually was given. They actually offered him the lead role of this film.
Really?
And he turned it down because of the portrayal of Jim, which is kind of funny. Like coming full circle later on, like in the 2000s, he would be, touring with them as lead singer, which I thought was kind of cool.
Now,
Total asshole.
If you're a fan of Stone Temple Pilots, their debut album Core, I was reading recently, is all Weiland was listening to before getting in the booth was The Doors. And if you go back and listen to stuff like Plush and Creep, you could really actually hear a lot of Jim in there. And he also, when they first got back together, the Doors of the 21st Century, they did something on VH1. It was like a Storytellers, and they brought out different singers. Weiland came out and did like Roadhouse Blues. But again, it's always cool when, it's cool that Ian stuck up, because I love the Cult that he stuck up and didn't want to do the portrayal, but it's also awesome that Val was able to nail those vocal performances really well too.
Yeah. Before we, put a bow on this discussion of Val, what's your favorite Doors song?
Ooh, I mean, that's. You know what? Since tonight you brought up the Ray Manzarek singing the Dancing Native American Man, I'll talk about the song that he was actually playing right there, Not to Touch the Earth. That's a great song. The Unknown Soldier is a great song. If I Want to Be Vanilla, every single day I think of, when I look at our country, I think of People Are Strange. I love Strange Days. I mean, I love the last song on every album, the end, when the music's over. I mean, we could talk forever about the Doors. How about you, my friend?
I have two favorite songs for them, and they're not really talked about enough. Maggie McGill.
That's probably Dad. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Go on again.
And Soul Kitchen are my two favorite songs for
them. My father didn't seem like he was a huge Door fan. All I remember one day is he came home with this tape and he's like, I like this song. And I'm like, what is it? He's like, I heard it on XRT. It's called Maggie McGill. And honestly, since he told me that in like 98, I'd probably play Maggie McGill at least like 10 times a year, super loud. I love Maggie McGill.
Yeah, I love the guitar riff that starts
because
off
that's
with
when I was saying the last songs on the album. That's the last song on Morrison Hotel. That's a great.
Mhm.
There's a song on there that's also in this movie. See, this movie also there's a song called The Spy. That's a really cool song. So many good songs. I mean, the Doors were a great band that unfortunately only lasted, a handful of years.
Yeah,
But they
Jim
came
was a
out
member
with,
of the 27 Club
yeah,
of
which is
artists who died
a
at
shame.
27.
Shame.
So if you want to know who that is, look into it. It's a theory of the famous celebrities who've all died at the age of 27. And Jim was, I believe, Jim and
Janis and Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix, yeah, for the first three. And then it goes on from there. So if you want to waste time going down a rabbit hole, check that out. But that is our Val Kilmer show. We have some more Val Kilmer facts for him to honor him. He was never nominated for an Oscar or a Golden Globe, which blew my mind when I read that. I thought for sure he would have been nominated at least for The Doors because that movie did get critical acclaim from certain people. So that's crazy. His film grosses. As a lead, he made $858 million. As a leading ensemble member, $365 million. As a supporting actor, $2.3 billion. And unclassified roles, he made $245 million, bringing a total of $3.8 billion throughout his career. He was the youngest student at Juilliard Drama Division. He was accepted into Juilliard's prestigious drama program when he was just 17, making him the youngest student ever admitted at the time. His breakthrough role was, of course, in Top Gun, and they noticed him as the cool Iceman in that film. He was a poet and a published author. Aside from acting, Kilmer has shown an artistic side by publishing poetry in his teens and later releasing a memoir titled I'm Your Huckleberry in 2020. Of course, we mentioned he did all the singing for The Doors. And he had his real-life health struggles that eventually did end up claiming his life. A guy who kind of had his ups and downs, mostly due to his own struggles and health. A person that I think was gonna pass. I thought he got past his health issues, and unfortunately, we lost him a few days ago. So, any final thoughts, Tone, on Val Kilmer?
A couple final thoughts. Just a couple little side bits. Loved him as his portrayal of John Holmes in Wonderland. I've talked about that on here. He did a really good job in that performance. I've been involved in 3 ridiculous situations involving a Val Kilmer movie that we did not talk about tonight. These are the 3 movies and the 3 situations really quickly here. Situation number 1, The Island of Dr. Moreau. Me and my friends, and again, no parents are with us at River Oaks. We almost get thrown out because we're making fun of the movie so much because it's bad, that bad. Number 2, really angry that I decided, me and my buddy, we went and saw The Ghost in the Darkness. Now, the movie is not as bad as I thought it was when I first saw it, but when I saw that movie, it was not really good. And another one is my buddy was obsessed with Red Planet, obsessed with it. And I would always make fun of him because I said the movie sucked. Honestly, I couldn't tell you anything about the movie. I love Val. I'll rewatch it now. But we all go to Walmart one day. It's like a bunch of friends of mine, and they got like that $5 bin. I picked out 30 Red Planets while he was like around the store, and I went up to him like this with 30 Red Planets, and I go, I think you should get these. And he screamed and cussed at me and left us at Walmart, and we had to like call and get somebody else because all I did was get 30 Red Planets. I thought you'd like them. But Val Kilmer's great, man. But what's not good is that we lost him. But again, we got to talk about movies, some good ones. 2 ones that are good movies that I didn't get to talk to were he's good in The Real McCoy with Kim Basinger. That's actually a pretty cool movie. And so he was married to Joanne Whaley for a long while, and he's in this movie with her called Kill Me Again. It's another crime thriller from 1989. With Michael Madsen in that too, because them 2 are on the run from him. He's a crazy ex-boyfriend. But again, we love Val here at the show, and it was sad that this was what brought us to the 5-on-5, but I'm glad we were able to honor him.
Yeah, I mean, he was in Jay and Silent Bob reboot. He was in there. He's also in this horrible film called The Birthday Cake. He plays a mafia boss. He hasn't really talked too much in that film, of course, because he was still recovering. But yeah, a true talent, leading man that could do comedy and do
I'm looking at this movie. I never even heard of this movie, The Birthday Cake. I just saw the box. It looked like an already tell
it's
you.
horrible. Yeah. What I will say is this: I was looking at IMDb's top movies for Val here, and they're giving his top 26 here. How the hell is the Island of Dr. Monroe number 9?
I don't know, but if you're looking for a fun, ridiculous, not a great movie, but him and Cage do a really good job in that second Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call of New Orleans. It's better than you would think it would be. Deja Vu's pretty good with Denzel.
Kill the Irishman. Check out that one.
Yeah. And I mentioned it earlier when we were talking about the last one was Salt and Sea. That movie's actually pretty cool. And that one's got a lot of different people in it, from Luis Guzman, Vincent D'Onofrio, Anthony LaPaglia, B.D. Wong. That one is actually really, really cool. It's another, he's got a lot of neo-noir thriller type films.
Mindhunters too was a good film.
That's a good one too.
So you said that we were 80% of the way with the list you saw. What films did we not have on our list?
I said it was the two that we did not have, which took the place of it was the two we did not have was the Top Gun and Maverick, and the other one was Willow.
Okay.
But still, you understand Willow. Top Gun, Maverick, like you said, sentimental. But I would have put Thunder. I mean, I think if you were in the room and they were picking the list and you were like, "Are we leaving off Thunderheart?" They would have been like, "Yeah, we got to fit that on here somewhere." And probably, Maverick probably would have went.
Yeah, I wouldn't have picked Top Gun Maverick. I like the film. I wouldn't say it's his best film. He doesn't really have any role, like a speaking role. But that is our tribute to the great Val Kilmer. It sucks, man. We're losing stars, we grew up with. Before we get to the Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week to close out the show, again, just want to say thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. This past 2 weeks, we've hit like a bump in views. We've gotten over 20,000 views from shorts, from our videos. We gained, I think, like 20 subscribers. So we're at 729, I believe now. Getting ever closely to that 1,000. I just re-released a blog I wrote about Mindhunter, the Netflix show Mindhunter, just showing my love for it and why it needs to come back. I know David Fincher did hint that it possibly could come back, but I'm not going to hold out hope because Netflix sucks. But besides that, we just want to let you guys know that there will be no show next week. We're going to take a week off. Sox game on Friday, and it's just kind of hard with our schedules to get something done that isn't on a Friday. And it'll be nice to have like a little break in between. Tone, what's going on at the Hookup on Music?
We got a couple things going on Sunday. Our fellow Penguin Brian will be joining me, and we're going to be talking about some of the songs that maybe make some tears come down our face. We're going to be digging into that. Also maybe talk about some 1995 albums, because right after that I'm going to be on the 1995 movie draft, which we're going to be drafting the best films of 1995. It will be me, Brian, and his friend Kevin, who I've never met, so it'll be exciting to meet Brian's friend. I'm excited to mix that up. I also want to announce that I am hoping this weekend I am going to start my new writing endeavor, where hopefully I can crank out at least 2 articles a week. because I got some stuff cooking. I've got a local wrestling show I'm going to be going to, talking to some different people. Got some other people getting involved, trying to get our writing off the ground and start to do more in the writing front, because you know what? I like writing, and honestly, I loved when I did the October writing, and I think I could fit it in. Even if I can't, I'll put the laptop on my forehead while I sleep, and maybe I'll type something out. But we're gonna get some articles out there, and we're gonna keep continuing down this amazing path. And I want to thank my amazing partner. He has been putting together some really cool clips, and they are really doing awesome. And it's just really cool to do this, and it's awesome. Like, even I'll be honest with you, everyone out there, just this last week, a buddy reached out to me on Facebook that he was my best friend, like in 4th, 5th, and 6th, 7th grade. I hadn't talked to him in a long time. I told him about the show. He's a huge gamer. Maybe get him involved, write some article. We just want to get people involved and have some fun with us. So thank you so much, everyone out there, for just listening and supporting us.
Yep, and be sure to check out It's Getting Drafty here this Sunday and the Hookup on Music. Tone, let's close this out, my man, with your soundtrack pick of the week.
The Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week.
So you know what I was thinking this past week when I was picking out my film soundtrack of the week? I was like, why didn't I think of this before through all the episodes I've done? So I tried something different tonight. Yumper, there is a Val Kilmer movie that we have not talked about tonight that has a really good soundtrack. Can you name that movie before I put it up on the screen? You're going to have 5 seconds here. 5.
Is it the one
3.
It's a TV movie, isn't it?
2, 1. Yes, The Saint, which actually has a very solid soundtrack. Released in 1997. Sadly, I did see this movie in the movie theater, and I did not like this movie.
No, it wasn't good.
And that's why we didn't bring it up during our previous segment. But that's what I thought. How cool is that we got a Val Kilmer soundtrack here for our Val Kilmer show? So here we go. We got The Saint, which it's got, honestly, 6 Underground by the Sneaker Pimps. That song is amazing.
Yep.
You got Orbital. They got good stuff. You got Moby. Good stuff. Setting Sun by the Chemical Brothers. Good. This is the late 90s when this music was really, really, really taking off. I personally, I don't know if you've ever sat down and listened to them, but if you haven't listened to Underworld and you like Depeche Mode, they're just a little bit more dancier, but they still are really, really good. Duran Duran, David Bowie. What I laughed about was all these, and then you got like Duncan Sheik, like these more of a teeny bopper musician, when all these other ones are like, Luscious Jackson's cool. But a really cool soundtrack. What's not on the soundtrack, and I always thought it was an amazing cover because it's in the movie, is the cover that the Pumpkins did of the Cars You're All I've Got Tonight. It's on their box set also. But a really cool 90s soundtrack with some electronica and some alternative.
Yeah, I actually have heard of Underworld. Carl Hyde.
Yeah. Look at you. Look at you, Yump. I should give you a hug right now if you were in the room. That's awesome.
Yeah, Carl Hyde. He's they're like one of the first people to actually put out that electronic music like that.
They are. And they're actually coming to Chicago in May.
Oh. I might try to convince my wife to go to that.
If you can convince your wife to go to that, Yump, I'll convince my wife to go to it.
All right. We'll consider it a date. But yeah, this soundtrack is really good. Sneaker Pimps, 6 Underground's one of my wife's favorite songs. I really like that song too. The girl's voice, even though she eventually left the band, is really, really good. Good soundtrack, man. Horrible movie.
Not good. And not good because and it's a shame too, because you're really saying to yourself too, if this movie turns out to be a real big banger for Val, this could really even took him levels higher than he already was. But on a $90 million budget, only bringing in 169, on a summer movie that it just isn't what they were looking for. But then again, when you take shows, and they've done this before, like this is a good one too. Like my dad's like, they should remake The Man from U.N.C.L.E. That was a great show in the late 60s. And I'm like, yeah, it was great in the late 60s, but who's going to fucking watch that now? That's the same thing with The Saint. It's like, yeah, it was cool a long time ago, but when I go to you, Yump, hey, you want to go see The Saint? It was an old show. You're like, I never seen The Saint. It's not like you're like, yeah, let's go. The only thing that's going to bring you in the theater is Val. So you go see the movie and the script is so god awful that you're like, not only am I never going to watch the old show, but now Val's career's on the downturn. Good thing they put a good soundtrack together.
Sometimes it's got to go like that, man.
It does. It sure does.
I mean, at least I had Elizabeth Shue in it. So.
that is the only saving grace. You just said it.
Yeah. But good soundtrack pick, man. I totally forgot that the soundtrack was good. See, there are movies with bad soundtracks. Maybe we'll do a show on that.
There is. And honestly, it was funny because I was looking when you were telling me to pick the movies, and then I was doing the soundtracks, and I was like, let's see if he has any movies that wasn't Top Gun that had a good soundtrack. And then I was like, The Saint, didn't that have a soundtrack? And I was like, yes, it sure did. I forgot about this one. So it's cool to do these kind of researches too.
Yep, it's a good pick, Tom. So, actually, Cotton was the one who suggested we do movies with bad soundtracks. Bad soundtracks, good soundtracks, bad movies. I'm sorry, I can't talk. It's been 2.5 hours, guys.
Oh, yeah.
But, thank you again for watching. That is our show. We will be back in 2 weeks with something. This is episode 10, I believe, right? Yep,
yes,
10.
Sure is.
I'm glad you have the ticker down there because I always mess up on my count in my own file, so it's always out there. But we'll be back with something big, probably something cool, and maybe new things coming from the Statistic Penguins. Be sure to check us out at statisticpenguinstudios.com for our blogs and podcasts there. And if you're not already subscribed to the YouTube, subscribe if you can. If not, it's all good. But we will see you in a few weeks. Take it easy.
Thanks for listening to the At the Show podcast, a Sadistic Penguin Studios production.
Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?